of Modi. And despite the Operation Sindoor, or the, let's say, the Trump tariffs and the ceasefire, they still do not seem to have the confidence in Rahul Gandhi to lead the country out of this time. So unless this 10% to 14% supporters of the NDA, largely because of Prime Minister Modi, shift from BJP or NDA to the India bloc, it is very, very difficult for to have a change of guard at the center. And that brings us to the
I'll come
communication.
to the states in a moment, Amitabh. We have a separate segment on the states. I'll come to that. But Sanjay Jha, that's a useful point to pick up on. You see, at the end of the day, you're also only as good or bad as your opponents are. What the polls are clearly showing is that the opposition, primarily the Congress, while making incremental gains, is still substantially behind the BJP. And therefore, even despite the possibility of anti-incumbency, people still don't have enough confidence in the opposition to actually switch their votes. Unless you get votes to switch, you're not going to get a government to change.
Rajdeep, good evening to you and to my fellow panelists. I want to make just 2 points, really. Number one, please remember that a lot of these polls, and maybe Yashwant can correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of these polls have an inherent bias because of the timing. Now, Mr. Modi is just 1 year plus in this government. Anybody who participates in the poll knows that willy-nilly this government ought to survive. I hope it doesn't, but it might survive till this entire 2029. So that to a great extent influences your view, because you realize that you may participate in a poll without making any material impact of your opinion.
Been in power 11 years. You know, the mood of the nation has, over the last 11 years, consistently shown these numbers, barring, as I said, that poll in August of 2021 after COVID 2.0.
No, but I'll tell you, Rajdeep, why you need to hear my second statement that juxtaposes the first. And I'll tell you why I'm not very convinced by these numbers, and that's my reasoning. Mr. Modi's entire success since 2014 has been built on his strong man imagery, right? Everyone sees him as a leader who takes decisive calls. Even if it's a blunder like demonetization, he gets away with it because people see a virtue, even in a step that may be extremely infantile. Here is 3 points that I would like to put on the table for conversation. Look at 3 distinctive tailwinds that he's faced. Number one, what Maria pointed out, Operation Sindoor, the Pahalgam terror attack, I think has severely dented his image of that muscular hero, the hyper-nationalistic narrative. I think that stands busted. I completely agree with what Maria said. I think that's peaked and is probably on the decline. The second also is going to be on the tariffs. I'm telling you, Rajdeep, as a student of economics, and I look at these numbers very closely, when the impact of these tariffs hit India progressively over the coming few weeks and months, and the job losses actually aggravate, you might see a great degree of resistance to Mr. Modi's ability to change it by talking of Swadeshi, etc. I think eventually people are hurting. And the third point is vote chori. I think on vote chori, Rahul Gandhi's campaign, or the national imagination that it has caught, is denting the governance record of this government absolutely irretrievably. I think all these will have consequences.
Particularly, we'll see how tariffs play out. But the truth of the matter is we only can go by the numbers that are there. The numbers are clearly showing that the Prime Minister is holding firm in terms, relatively, certainly, in comparison to his opponents. Interestingly, you stayed away from discussing the state of the opposition. We'll come back to that. But Tuhin Sinha, you want to respond to these numbers? Do they give you a sense of satisfaction? Or, on the flip side, you're actually not doing as well in August of 2025 compared to 6 months ago. In that sense, the momentum is not with you.
Well, good evening, Rajdeep. Good evening, everybody. I would say these numbers are fairly positive for the BJP. The last few months have been challenging for the country. Even after the historic success of Operation Sindoor, we saw the opposition openly taking an anti-India line and calling a victory a surrender. We had those challenges. We had the tariff crisis. In spite of that, people seem to believe that the only leader who is equipped to deal with these challenges successfully is Prime Minister Modi. So I would much rather compare your findings with the 2024 elections. Compared to that, you are
Still
showing
not over 272. You see, there are two ways to look at it. Even in 2024, you got 240 seats. You're still at 260. You're not going beyond 271 on your own.
I'm saying your present polls are after a somewhat challenging phase. In the next 3.5 years, there will be easy phases when we will shoot up to 300. So, these 6 monthly MOTNs.
Mr. Tuhin Sinha, can I ask you one quick question? If one was to believe with what you're saying, that the opposition with their perception of how they handled the entire Operation Sindoor is being considered anti-national, it should show then, because the opposition has actually seen a 1% rise. While there seems to be a stagnation with the NDA.
No, Preeti, the point is for the first few days after the Operation Sindoor was halted, they managed to, sway the public and make them seem that we had given up our interest. But when the truth prevailed, okay, your polls are pretty much on the same level that it was, in 6 months ago. So I don't see any significant loss for the BJP. Rather, now that we have successfully gotten over the challenging phase, things are only going to get better from here. And, like I said, 3.5 years is a very long time. If we have retained this in a challenging phase, we will shoot up from here in the better phases.
Okay, there could be challenging times, of course, up ahead, but there are two narratives, therefore, playing out. One narrative is Modi holding firm, which is your cover story. The other is Modi holding firm, but, and there is also the question of the opposition itself. You're only as good, as I said earlier, as your opposition is. People still have faith in Modi compared to the opposition. Ultimately, you compare the two. Is that what really the mood of the nation shows? That yes, there are concerns, but we're still not certain that the opposition is in a better position than Mr. Modi to be able to deliver.
I think it's just a little different from that. Yes, the opposition doesn't so far bring in the kind of confidence that can run the country, as Mr. Modi has been doing or the BJP has been doing. But also there are, let's put it this way, conditions apply to the support that has been given to Mr. Modi this time and the BJP. And those conditions, if you look at the economic side of it, they're deeply concerned with the economy and its progress. This worry is going to deepen as the tariff war escalates and you see a lot of joblessness happening or people losing businesses. And therefore, while they say, look, we still believe you're the best guy to handle this situation, the best leader to handle the situation, remember, these are the things. And therefore, if you see, there's no great bump that happens during Sindoor because people are
So has he plateaued? You see, the flip side is, has Mr. Modi plateaued? Has the momentum that you had of the muscular strongman, of this nationalist strongman, you've got what you can. You're not getting any more out of that. You're going to need something extra. Is there a sense, Maria, you made a very good point about this whole nationalist drive. Post-Operation Sindoor, there was, unlike Balakot, where Mr. Modi's ratings just zoomed, as did that of the BJP. Now, even if Mr. Modi's ratings may not have dipped substantially, the BJP no longer is a dominant 300-plus party as per these numbers. Do you sense that there has been an arresting of the Modi momentum?
So, if you look at what happened in surgical strikes, it happens September 2016, UP elections happen in 2017, and we see the results. It's a landslide victory. Aerial or Balakot airstrikes happen in February 2019. Lok Sabha elections happen a few months later. It's a landslide again. I think while we look at that comparison that you're speaking about, that you are as good as the opposition, one question which could have emerged in this mood of the nation was that what do people think about an institution called the Election Commission? Because the first real
We'll
test...
come to all those. We've got all of that. Don't serve me, I'm too old. I'm too young. Go ahead.
The first real test of the vote chori or that narrative will be in Bihar. Because the sense that I get is that this is essentially about some kind of voter awareness campaign which is happening in Bihar by the opposition. They are moving around telling that please go and speak to your BLAs, ensure that your name is there. It may not be the reason on which the vote will be cast. So I'm making that distinction that this will be the real test. Bihar elections will decide whether, if the opposition can, that issue will lead to the vote.
Let's look at the Bihar numbers. Just a minute, Gaurav, I'll just get you and then you can respond to that. Let's look at the Bihar numbers. No, let's, in this segment, break down
nationalism.
Yes, yes. Gaurav is upset that I've suggested that nationalism has peaked as a vote-catching narrative.
On the contrary, we have to see what happens after this Trump tariff impact takes effect. Yes, there will be job losses, but will there be mitigating factors? Because post-COVID, while Modi's numbers went down or BJP's numbers went down in mood of the nation, ultimately they were able to swing back. Ultimately, they were able to come back on top once again with the steps that they took. Now it remains to be seen whether they're able to take those reforms that they're talking about.
Let me challenge you on that.
Sure.
In 2021, in our mood of the nation, that was the first time Mr. Modi's numbers and that of the BJP declined substantially in the back of COVID 2.0.
And
by
the
2024,
Chinese, yes,
when the Lok Sabha elections came, the BJP for the first time after a decade actually fell even below 250 seats on its own. They got 240. So there seemed to be in those months, eventually when actual elections took place, a decline. Now if these numbers hold, in the next 12 months, if the government doesn't get it right on a few issues, are we seeing a decline? Has the Modi BJP combined, and I use it Modi combined because there is a Modi vote out there, not just a BJP vote. Has it peaked or do you see a revival?
So do we see a revival post the election results of 2024 in Haryana and in Maharashtra and the RSS swinging in favor of the BJP and flipping things around for the BJP? So while there is BJP, there is Modi, there is also the RSS, and when they move in as a team, it becomes a very formidable combine, which will be tested once again in Bihar and in subsequent elections.
He is right in the way that is you see what we witnessed in Haryana and Maharashtra and even Jammu for that matter was that Modi as the election campaigner in chief took himself into the backseat.
Yes.
It was the organizational strength of the BJP and the RSS which pulled them out of the blues, So there are two aspects of this entire electoral game plan. One is that how much, the organizational muscle is coming in and how much is the Modi factor coming in. And I would just like to point upon what Amitabh said was very important. All our serious number crunchers, CSDS, us and others, colleagues as well, they have estimated about 25 to 33% of the BJP universe as the pro-Modi person, which is not ideologically centered. It is just
Modi centered.
Modi. It's the Modi dividend.
Let me just make that clear.
Yeah.
CSDS said in 2019, 1 in every 3 voters voted for the BJP because of Modi. By 2024, it had come to 1 in 4.
1 in 4.
So it actually declined a bit. So I'm just asking you,
that's fine.
You see, one of the things from these numbers is that the BJP is so far ahead that nothing can change.
I'm just coming to that point. Just give me 30 seconds. I will come to that point. Because even by a 1/4 or 1/3 number within the BJP, that is the swing vote, I would say. Because it's not ideologically inclined. If you remember, Rajdeep, the lowest possible F for the BJP in the last 20 years, even when they lost 2009 election, was 20%, right? Lowest possible F for the Congress even was around the same 20%, which means, ideologically speaking, these two national parties are positioned at 20-20 each. Whatever BJP is getting beyond 20-25% is Modi factor. Now, as long as Mr. Rahul Gandhi is going to center his campaign around him individually, that swing is not going to happen. That is why Chaukidar Chor hai backfired. That is precisely why a personal campaign against Mr. Modi, Mr. Prime Minister, is never useful to any of the
Samvidhan Khatre mein hai also worked. But Rajdeep, somewhere down the line, if you look at when our last Mood of the Nation polls actually happened, it happened at the back of a win that was euphoric for the NDA. We were coming at the back of a 3-2 in elections which clearly, where the massive states were concerned, went in the favor of the NDA. So there was that impetus, there was that push, because some of those elections, the NDA technically, as per poll data, as per a lot of conversations in studio, were not elections that were meant to be won by the NDA. Maharashtra, Haryana, Delhi, all of them came back, right? So the NDA won it. There was a deep sense of euphoria. You did the poll. The NDA clearly was on top, and we see that kind of exaggerated figures at that point.
There are two aspects to elections. One is narrative building, one is organization building. It's clear that the NDA or the BJP's organization remains at the moment so much formidably superior to that of the opposition. Therefore, when you actually come to election numbers, you always see wide gaps. Plus the Modi versus the rest factor. Mr. Modi still remains in most polls, including possibly this one, well ahead of his opponent. So keep that in mind. But let's come to Bihar. It's your home state, Maria Shakil. Let's look at the numbers and then I'll get my other guests also in. If projected vote share in Bihar that goes to the polls in November, 2024 Lok Sabha result. Keep in mind, Lok Sabha result, NDA had 47%. In our MOTN, NDA is going up to 50%. On the other hand, the India Alliance, which was 39% in the Lok Sabha, is now going up by 5% to 44%. So the others are getting squeezed out as per this. How does that translate into seats? Remember, this is Lok Sabha seats. We are not looking at Vidhan Sabha, but Lok Sabha, but it may give you some kind of a barometer. In the 2024 Lok Sabha results, the BJP plus JDU plus LJP had dominated the election, winning 29 out of 40. The RJD plus left and Congress had got 9. As of now, they remain at 9 and the NDA would be at 31. So the first test, if it is Bihar, is that the NDA, at least in electoral terms, Maria, in your home state, is holding rock solid vote adhikar yatra or no vote adhikar yatra.
Yes, because I feel that in a state which is so politically charged, so politically aware, because the biggest political movements have happened from Bihar, so vote adhikar yatra will essentially mean that each and every voter will go to the BLA, speak to their respective booth agents and ensure that their vote is there. Will it translate into vote? I don't think so at the moment. It may not be an issue on which vote will be cast. As far as Tejasvi and the Mahagathbandhan is concerned, till 2 months ago, when they were raising issues of administrative failure, when they were talking about that there is almost like a jungle raj, massive law and order failure on part of Nitish Kumar, that was generating curiosity and that could have been an issue on which voters would be interested, because if it is that fear of law and order collapse, this will not be an issue on which voters will say कि मैं इसको ले आता हूँ.
Exactly. Just to add to what she said, just an important number, because 5 years back when we were running the trackers here on this channel, you remember in the last 6 weeks, we were consistently telling that main issue is unemployment. Yes. And when actually Tejasvi started picking on, hammering on unemployment, his numbers went up.
Yeah.
His numbers went up. So I agree with Maria on this one that we don't know yet, but sometimes I feel like that, is it diluting the main agenda? Main issue and main agenda of Tejasvi? I don't know.
Let me just bring in Amitabh Tiwari, because Amitabh Tiwari, much like the big national numbers, when I look at the Bihar numbers, again, relatively frozen in time, particularly compared to Lok Sabha of 2024, again in a state where caste alliances also remain rock solid. Do you therefore believe that, in a way, the challenge for the opposition is to translate some of the narratives, whether anti-incumbency, whether mehengai, whether unemployment, whether law and order, into actual votes? And that comes down to trust. Do I trust the opposition to do a better job than those in power?
Yeah, essentially, one caveat will be here that these are Lok Sabha numbers, and in the past we've seen that Bihar voted for Modi in Lok Sabha, but for the Mahagathbandhan when Nitish was aligning with Lalu in 2015. That said, the real issues which everybody is talking about are unemployment, price rise, and corruption. And that is when we were seeing in the trackers that the Mahagathbandhan was getting some sort of traction. I still believe that this SIR exercise is a deflection, and somehow the opposition has been caught in this trap, and for the past 1.5 months have been largely focusing on SIR. Now in tweets of Rahul Gandhi, if you see, he is also talking about unemployment, price rise, corruption along with SIR, because these are the issues. It's not only about trust. Unemployment is an issue. So it's not only in Bihar, it's across India. How will the India bloc solve this issue? I don't see any white paper or any communication or any strategy on this aspect reaching the youth of the country. There is a discontent amongst youth in Bihar, but how will the India bloc generate jobs? That is something.
So it comes back to that. Let me turn to another Bihari, therefore, Sanjay Jha. It comes down to, yes, there are narratives which the opposition can use to build some kind of a momentum, but either they choose the wrong narrative at times, or they don't have the organizational strength to convert some of these narratives into votes. You're going to have to swing votes. Elections are decided by swing voters, not by those who are committed to one party or the other.
But Rajdeep, can I just add to it?
Just a minute, let him complete.
Go ahead, Sanjay.
Rajdeep, in my opinion, I'll agree only partially with Maria here, because she says it's more like a voter awareness. It's not. This has become, in my opinion, an emotive subject during the entire campaign. Let me elaborate on that. The feeling amongst those, particularly the minorities and those from the backward classes who have who struggle with those elementary documentation that the EC mandated, they feel that there was an attempt to cheat them and deprive them of their right to vote. Now, I come from Bihar. I have not lived there now for many years. But let me tell you this. When I grew up, for the few years that I was there, at a young age, people discussed politics in dhabas and nukkars. And when you tell them that this one fundamental right that you have to get Modi to come and tell you with hands folded, please vote for me, if you're going to take that away from me, that's hurting that emotion, that the betrayal, or the fact that, is somebody here trying to take me for granted? And I think this will have a larger ramification in Bihar when the voting happens.
Yes, no, you have to wait. We have several more states to go through. We cannot ignore those states.
Okay,
there's a large gap still, though, between the two sides of about 6% as per the MOTN poll between NDA and India Alliance. But remember, from 39% in Lok Sabha results, and these are Lok Sabha, they are now up to 44%. And in a state election, as we saw in 2020, the Mahagathbandhan is able to punch possibly above its weight. To that extent, Bihar will be fascinating. If these numbers are there, it will be a tighter race than many have predicted, given, of course, the fact that the Nitish Kumar government has been in power for so many years. But it's not just Bihar. Over the next 9 months, there will be several states going to the polls. Let's quickly go through it, and then you can give us what the big takeaway from these states is. Let's start with the state of Tamil Nadu. Remember, Tamil Nadu is one of the biggest states that will go to the polls. This will be around March, April next year. As per this, when you look at the numbers from Tamil Nadu, it is clear that there is a huge advantage here at the moment for the India Alliance. Tamil Nadu still shows a substantial 11% edge even today to the India Alliance. And presumably, Yashwant, you're including AIADMK in the NDA at the moment. But Vijay, who many believe is the X factor, comes within others. That's 15%. Many believe Vijay is the one who's possibly dividing the anti-DMK vote. Am I correct, Yashwant?
He is more of a kind of a parking for the anti-incumbent vote. So invariably, he may not like to hear it this way, but he is ending up helping the DMK sweeping the state.
Okay, so that's the best news as of now.
But
that's
Rajji,
coming for the India
Kishore could have been that X factor in Bihar.
Exactly.
Prashant Kishore could have been that X factor in Bihar. Jan Swaraj. What Vijay is doing, possibly untested political force. We don't know what the ramifications of that is, but what Vijay is doing in Tamil Nadu, you can completely seem to suggest, because I'll go by what Yashwant said. CVoter survey last time. Preferable chief ministerial candidate. CVoter survey seems to be projecting Prashant Kishore right on top, and there's a steady rise in those numbers.
Yeah, but the fact is,
right on top is Tejasvi number one. But Prashant Kishore could be that
the fact is the others in Bihar are still in single digit. In Tamil Nadu, as per your poll, others are in double digit. So therefore, the others are a significant chunk in Tamil Nadu, not so much in Bihar. So even while Prashant Kishore may be high in popularity, as of now, as per these numbers, it's not necessarily translating into votes and seats.
For his party.
We'll wait and see.
Personal popularity is there.
Personal popularity may not necessarily translate into votes. Let's take a look at another key state that's going to the polls in the next few months. We have Kerala, which is also going to the polls, remember, at the same time, another of the southern bastion states. In Kerala, these are even better numbers in some way for the UPA India Alliance. And there's a story within a story here, Yashwant, because as per your polls, the UDF, that's the Congress-led alliance, is 41%, which is 16% more than the LDF, and the BJP is at 24%. This is all Lok Sabha. Now, can that change in a Vidhan Sabha where the left in particular has a very strong organization on the ground? Or looking at these numbers, will Shashi Tharoor perhaps hope, mera number kab aayega?
Unlikely, because historically speaking, BJP managed to poll only 50% or less than that, what they used to get into Lok Sabha election in Kerala. So if they are managing to poll about 24% in Kerala, their Vidhan Sabha tally could be around 12%, not beyond that.
So would you give the edge as of now to the UDF in Kerala?
Definitely. As far as the assembly election goes, yes. UDF has an edge over there. Having said that, any party which is I mean, touching almost 25% vote in a state, Kerala cannot be now classified as a state where BJP is a non-entity, is out of condition. It's a huge, huge development. I mean, coming to 24% for me, purely from the psephology perspective, it's a fascinating fight.
You know, these first three states, Raj, are also showing a story within a story. When I look at the national picture, it's very one-sided. The BJP still remains well ahead, NDA. The moment you go to states, every state, Bihar, at least the Mahagathbandhan is now not out of it. In Kerala and Tamil Nadu, they are well ahead in some ways. Does that show at state levels, the BJP Modi factor no longer dominates in the way that it used to even perhaps a decade ago? I know Tamil Nadu, Kerala, not the best examples, but by and large, India Alliance does better in states than it's doing at the center.
I would just have a word of caution on this, and I've always discussed this with Yashwant, is to project these onto state results would not be the right thing to do. And the second thing I'd just like to...
But if in general, actually, it works the other way around. The India Alliance tends to do better in states than it does in general elections.
And they do have strong leaders in the states as compared to... But Yashwant, I have a question. When looking at these state numbers, BJP has lost, you say, 19 seats, right, from what you had in February. And the Congress has gained 18 seats. But when you look at these state numbers, where are these seats that the BJP is losing? And where are the seats that the Congress is gaining?
The major two states where Congress and the BJP numbers have swung is Maharashtra and Rajasthan in this round of...
This is compared to February.
Compared to February. So whatever the losses of the BJP and the gains of Congress are coming are from the two states largely, Maharashtra and Rajasthan.
Okay.
And
let's
not
if I may, these are very difficult states for the BJP, and especially Kerala and Tamil Nadu. And what these numbers show is BJP trying to creep up, and especially in states like Kerala, if they're coming to 24%, which means they're trying to make inroads and focusing again on two aspects. One is security, the other is economy.
And Gaurav, there are always two electoral thresholds, let me remind you, 25% and 33% in first past the post system.
Yes.
Once you reach 25%, it starts reflecting in number of seats. And once you reach 33%, you become a really serious contender for the race to power.
Okay, there are two more states that will go to the polls early next year. One of them, West Bengal. Take a look at the West Bengal numbers now. This is what, remember again, is Lok Sabha. So all comparisons are in Lok Sabha. Look at the numbers. Trinamool Congress is 31. Remember they got 29 in the Lok Sabha. They're at 31. So they are remaining the dominant force. They're the Congress nil. We don't know whether there'll be a TMC Congress alliance. The BJP gaining in vote share, but not in seats. So Bengal remains that kind of bastion. As I said, if you're looking at these state elections, remember over the next 9 months, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, these are three states where you already have non-BJP governments in place. As of now, they seem to be holding their own. Bihar, edge to the NDA. There is one more state
Assam,
which goes to the polls in the next few months, and that is Assam. Let's take a look at Assam, because many believe that this is one of the more fascinating states in the country.
Rajdeep,
Very polarized campaign at the moment. NDA, as per the MOTN, is at 49%. That's an 8% edge over India Alliance. Remember, this is in Lok Sabha terms. How does this translate into seats? NDA has been in power in Assam, remember, for the last decade. In terms of seats, this is what it would look like as per MOTN, 11 to the NDA, 3 to the India Alliance. Yes, please.
You know, I want to just take a moment to reflect on the West Bengal numbers, because what you said, that this is one state that the BJP possibly hasn't been able to understand. You know, I feel currently that which is surprising, because BJP is superb in getting its political messaging right. But I do feel in the state of West Bengal, there is no clear political line and messaging that the BJP has taken now, post-2024. Why I say that is, at one end, you have a Samik Bhattacharya, who you make as your party president, who's seemingly a moderate voice, who's openly spoken where Muslims in West Bengal is concerned. But your leader of opposition continues to be Suvendu Adhikari, and the twain shall never meet. Therefore, there seems to be a fair amount of confusion in the people where, you know, the voters are concerned. And on the other hand, anti-incumbency is very high, but Mamata Banerjee always does a superb job of masking that with this ingrained regional, that she, makes that as a rallying point. So
let me just bring
But
in Tuin Sinha on that. Tuin Sinha, we've looked at states. These are all important states going to power. BJP doing very well still at the center, well ahead of the opposition. When you go state by state, barring Assam, where you're still holding your own, in the other states, you're not being able to make the dents, whether it's a West Bengal, a Tamil Nadu, a Kerala, all of which also go to the polls. Is there a sense that the one difficulty for the BJP is to break regional bastions, whether it's a DMK-led bastion in Tamil Nadu, the left Congress duopoly in Kerala, or Mamata Banerjee in a Bengal? Is that still a challenge for you?
If you ask me, in Bengal, the anti-incumbency factor is at its highest. So while we might still be putting our act together with the new party president, in the months to come, you will see a significant dip for the TMC, because
one thing you'll admit you haven't been able to crack. Where you talk about national pride, nationalism hasn't been able to cut through where sub-regionalism in West Bengal is concerned. You tried it, the entire last election was exactly that. You failed. You're trying it this time to get a moderate voice in, but your language is all over the place.
We, like you mentioned, we also have a non-moderate voice in Suvendu, So, Suvendu Adhikari. So, it's a bit like Advani and Vajpayee ji in the 90s at the national level. But anyway, there's always a first time. And we do believe that while Mamata Banerjee succeeds with a lot of booth loot, with a lot of, violence towards the end, this time we are going to, be really close. But if you just allow me to speak about Bihar, because I didn't get a chance then, in Bihar, in the last few days, the frustration of Rahul Gandhi is already showing. The myth, the hallucination of vote chori is not working on the ground. Bihar is a place of erudite people. Maria may agree with me, Sanjay Jha may not agree, but, over there, you can't spin this fake narrative of vote chori when actually from 2014, when at the national level, the Congress vote share had dipped to 23%, it has gone up by over 80% in the last 10 years. So, was UPA doing vote chori of Congress party in 2014 when it was at its lowest? And look at the kind of abusive language which, Congress workers have used against Prime Minister's mother. Once again, they do it every time they realize that the narrative has failed. And this comes from the top. Rahul Gandhi yesterday, the kind of abusive language, and if you look at it in the last 10 years, he resorts to this every time he realizes that the core issues are not working, which is precisely the case this time.
I just have 2 minutes. I don't know whether Sanjay Jha would like to be called a non-erudite Bihari. I think that's the last way he wants to look at himself. But I have 30 seconds to each of you. The big picture at the end of this first hour of Mood of the Nation is there this dichotomy that when it comes to the center, faith in Modi and the BJP. When it comes to the states, people are exploring Amitabh Tiwari, state leaders as well. Regional parties actually are bigger challengers to the BJP, especially at the state level, than even the Congress party.
Clearly, regional parties which have strong leaders and which play to the BJP's strength, that is nationalism versus sub-nationalism, and who have implemented a model of development, be it Mamata model of development or a DMK model of development or a Pinari Vijayan model of development, they are able to tackle BJP well because they have leader as well as a model of development to talk about. And BJP lacks strong leaders there, without which they are unable to make inroads in these specific states.
Sanjay Jha, your final takeaway from this first hour of Mood of the Nation.
Yeah, Rajdeep, I have 2 points. Number one, you have entered into a political reality. It's not a narrative of a post-Modi universe in Indian politics. The RSS openly talked about it, and I think it's pretty evident that the conversation everywhere has already become that, Modi is probably going to be replaced by somebody down the line. Who it's going to be? I think Mr. Modi's own, besides the other failures that we talked about, I think he's a diminishing brand for sure. The second point, I disagree with Yashwant Deshmukh when he says BJP's baseline is 40%. It's not. They were 32% in 2014, 37% in 2019, and 38.2% in 2019. Their base would be an average closer to around 35%. And if you lose 10 to 12% because of Modi, the BJP could be down to again 20-odd%. So,
yeah, but Mr. Modi is not going anywhere. Mr. Modi is not going anywhere. That is, as per this poll, let's be very clear. Mr. Modi is not going anywhere. And that, when I see the smile on my friend Gaurav Sawant's face, you want to respond to what was said? He said, Sanjay Jha says, Modi is a diminishing figure. Without Modi, the BJP will be back to a 25% baseline.
So this 41% in the India Today cover, I have faith in India Today. It's completing 50 years this year. And this is this 46th mood of the nation.
So he's saying
right.
BJP minus Modi is going to be back to 25%.
So it is a combination that works. It is the BJP, the RSS and the Prime Minister. They work in tandem. And even in Bengal, they rose from 3 to 77. So it's not as if they don't have their act in place. It's incremental growth. Whether it rises higher or goes down, we'll only know in elections. Okay. But they're holding fort as much as, it's that's trench warfare that's continuing, the war of the narratives.
So that's the cover story of Mr. Chengappa's India Today magazine. Remember, the messenger is Yashwant Deshmukh. If you disagree with the poll, shoot Yashwant Deshmukh. If you agree with it, give all the praise to Raj Chengappa.
We have been shot 46 times so far in 23 years.
You've been shot
still alive and thriving.
You're shot 46 times. I keep reminding myself of the MOTN in February of 2024. Yashwant perhaps remembers that. We predicted the BJP would get over 300. They got 240, but that happens. A poll is often a better benchmark than us just believing in a studio what's happening on the ground. The cover is Modi holds firm, but, and do look carefully at some of those buts because they also matter at election time. On that note, let's take a break. When we return, we'll turn to how are people viewing the performance of the government and that of the opposition. The Modi versus Rahul battle. Is that still?
Popularity, performance of the Prime Minister, August 2025. The latest figures say it's at 58%. So from a high of 72% in January 2023 to 63% in August 2023 to 61% in February 2024, it's 58% currently. Those who say his performance has been poor, that figure is at 26% in the month of August. The others are don't know, can't say. So all the challenges, Oppn high, and of course the narrative battle as many spoke of that India did not win despite winning on ground, and the Trump tariffs. Challenges plenty, popularity at 58%, Rajdeep.
Interesting, and I want to draw a tracker of this, Yashwant Deshmukh, and you can give us a quick first comment on that. In January 2023, the Prime Minister was rated good performance. That's 2023, 72%. That was a peak that he had reached. And today it is 58%. In August 2024, a year ago, it was 59%. What we are seeing, and this is a point we made earlier, has the Prime Minister's popularity plateaued? Yes, he's the BJP's biggest vote catcher still, but has his popularity plateaued? A quick answer.
Well, if you look at the graph, it seems like yes. I mean, that's the statistical answer of being plateaued when the graph
or actually come down a bit.
Or come down a bit. But electorally speaking, how long do you expect a man to continue trending at 50% plus after remaining 11 years in power? When was the last time you heard anything like that? Entire, not just in India, whichever state in India or surrounding countries or globally speaking. So I think attrition, electorally speaking, attrition of popularity, attrition of vote share is a very normal thing to happen. What is abnormal about this number is actually this degradation is not as sharp as globally or within India. The electoral history keeps on reminding us for other leaders and other states.
That's a good point. 11 years in power and still your popularity is reasonably high. 60 would suggest first class, at least that's the way I see it, but 58% also not bad. Mr. Modi's popularity still remains, it appears, much higher than his party. And even if there is creeping anti-incumbency, it's not so much against the individual Narendra Modi, it may be against states and individual leaders.
I think what Yashwant said is quite correct in the sense that it's remarkable that an individual who's in his 12th year in power comes up with numbers that are above 50%. So let's give full credit to it. And there is a reason for that. If you look at the peaks that he had, that 72%, this comes, if I recall, just after COVID. First, he has a devastating fall in terms of, compared to his numbers, a drop in his popularity, and then he bounces right back. and comes up with 72% because people think he's handled COVID finally well. There was a lot of criticism in the first phase of COVID, but after that he recovers. So what we are seeing now with Mr. Modi is not just a plateau, but the fact is that we are at crunch time. And some of that impact is being felt in terms of a very sobering reality that is happening in terms of the numbers going down, not only for Mr. Modi, percentage-wise from the highs that he had in February, but also for the BJP and the NDA. Those numbers are down because we are in a state of crisis. Now, what Mr. Modi does to handle, and let's look at it, in his track record has shown that every time there's been adversity, he comes out the better. So that's his, and whether he's going to break that track record is to be seen, but I think in the next couple of months, we will see that operating. He lost a bit, I felt, in terms of the narrative in Operation Sindoor, did well to strike back and strike deep into Pakistan, but then allowed that narrative to, or maybe got hijacked by Donald Trump in what he did by claiming that he had stopped the war. But he has this chance now, and you can see that Independence Day speech that he spoke about, which he realizes that it is crunch time for the economy, next generation reforms are there. If there's a person in crisis who's best equipped to handle this, it's Prime Minister Modi at the moment.
We've seen also...
And that's the results of the poll. That's why...
Yeah, sure. But we've seen this also between COVID 2.0 when his popularity dipped. And then by January 2023, it was back at a high at 72%. Anyone else? First remarks to what these numbers show. 58%, should that be seen as a very good rating or a clear plateauing of Prime Minister Modi's performance as Prime Minister?
You know, Morning Consult puts his popularity rating, global popularity rating at 75%. He's seen as the world's most popular leader, much higher than a Donald Trump or other world leaders. He's seen as someone who's really hands-on. So if you look at it, all the international awards that he gets for India, as he says, it just goes on to indicate that he's working non-stop for the nation.
You know, Rajdeep, all I'd say is I think 58% after 11 years is commendable. And why I say that is juxtapose it on the performance of his party and his government. He's got better figures there after 11 years. By the virtue of that fact, I think it's commendable. But there is this other train that one can look at. He's been the symbol of nationalism where it's come down to the voters. One of the biggest, I would think, adversity that would have made our Prime Minister look even bigger, larger than life, would have been Operation Sindoor. And I would reckon, if we go by the old figures of the Balakot airstrike, like Yashwantji has pointed out, there was a huge surge. We saw it on ground and we saw it in figures as well. That hasn't quite happened. So somewhere down the line, possibly the nationalism narrative was dented, A, by the opposition and Donald Trump.
Remember, BJP's vote percentage was around 40-41%. Prime Minister's performance as good as 58%. So Prime Minister tends to outperform his own party. But Maria, your first reaction?
Is hyper-nationalism or perhaps that Hindutva sentiment overshadowing the governance agenda? The government would want the governance to take center stage, but then there is this narrative around Operation Sindoor. If we were to look at those, you know, in what has happened in the last 18 months, there is a consecration ceremony which happens in 2024 January. That leads to the peak. And
Ram Mandir.
Ram Mandir. And then there is Operation Sindoor, which is there. But in between all this is an important decision which is announced for the middle class, which is again the income tax cut, which perhaps should be discussed more, but it is not being done, but it is not reflecting as much. So, Rajdeep, the sense certainly is that there has to be a reworking of the communication strategy, going back to the governance taking center stage, not as much as, you know, as we are seeing in the context of Hindutva.
It's very interesting the way the Prime Minister's popularity seems almost untouched by what the other criticisms of this government are, but performance of NDA, satisfied. As of August 2025, it is 52% are satisfied. That again comes down compared to 62% in February 2025. And in January 2023, when Mr. Modi's personal popularity had peaked, it was 67%. So if I look at it compared to February, which is how we track a poll, it is actually down 10%. Satisfaction rating with NDA is down 10%. On the other hand, those who are dissatisfied remain the same, 27%. So there's a solid block of those dissatisfied. There is, of course, a large number who are saying don't know or can't say. But this is the first real worrying point for the NDA when 10% decline takes place over 6 months in terms of satisfaction. We then asked NDA government's biggest achievement. 17% still said Ram Temple, January 2024. Operation Sindoor, 12%. So unlike a Balakot, where there was a huge jump in support for the government, not so much this time. Maybe Trump's announcements of ceasefire have something to do with it. Development, Maria mentioned, governance is 10%. Biggest failure, unemployment 27%. And remember, this is where the tariff factor could kick in also over the next 4 months. It's a warning sign. Price rise 21%. And we've seen this consistently over our Mood of the Nation. These two issues remain troubling. Economic growth 7%. So when you look at these numbers clearly, Prime Minister's performance rated much higher than that of his government. And there's a sharp dip in satisfaction levels with the government. Sanju Verma is joining us. Sanjay Jha is still with us, as is Amitabh Tiwari. Let me get first reactions from you, Sanju Verma. As we showed earlier, if there were elections held today, NDA is comfortably ahead. Prime Minister's ratings remain relatively high. Satisfaction with NDA government is showing a 10% decline, which is one of the sharpest that we have seen in our MOTN polls over the last 3 years. Your first comments, ma'am.
My first comment is this, Rajdeep, that yes, while Prime Minister Narendra Modi's rating or popularity may have dipped from 72% in 2023 to 58% in 2025, and those who are satisfied with Prime Minister Modi / the BJP, that may have fallen from 67% in 2023 to 52% in 2025, as your poll suggests. One thing which cannot be disputed is this, that for a man to have been at the helm of affairs for 10 years in a row, is into his third term, is the only prime minister in the last 62 years to be elected for the third time in a row, and to still have a popularity rating of 58%. I say that is a black swan event. Show me one democratically elected leader who, after having been in power for more than 11 years as Prime Minister, and prior to that serving 3 terms as the Chief Minister of Gujarat, having been in office for more than 20 or 22 odd years, still has a popularity rating of 58%. I challenge you, Rajdeep, to name just 3 such democratically elected leaders. Don't name fascist dictators.
I won't take up the challenge. I'll ask Sanjay Jha to take up the challenge. Sanjay Jha, Sanju Verma is challenging you to name any other leader who has, after 11 years in power, still had a relatively decent popularity rating, even though she won't answer why is the satisfaction level with the NDA declining. But go ahead.
Yeah, on a lighter vein, Rajdeep, the answer to that is very straightforward. You have Mr. Vladimir Putin. Why you forget him? He's democratically elected and his popularity ratings are through the roof. Anyway, let's get on to the more serious aspect of this wonderful conversation on your program. If the Ram Temple and Operation Sindoor happen to be the 2 benchmarks on which this government gets maximum accolades, that itself, Rajdeep, is an exhibition or a manifestation of the fact that this government has survived over the last 10 years. It's won elections, I concede that point, on hyper-nationalism or ultra-nationalism and hardcore Hindutva. And as the results showed you in Uttar Pradesh, even these are probably now going to give lower political dividends. It happened in Faizabad. We saw what happened. And from the survey that you have showed so far, I think Operation Sindoor has probably hurt his national security image much more than if he was expecting to augment it. My second point is...
We have separate numbers on that. But I take your... No, 1 minute, ma'am. Sanju, I'll let you respond in a moment. But let Amitabh Tiwari give us his first reactions also to these numbers. It's a strange anomaly, Amitabh. It appears that the government's numbers in terms of satisfaction level are showing a decline. There is also a decline from the peak popularity of the Prime Minister. But as we saw in the previous hour, this government's electability still remains relatively high.
So this government's electability remains fairly high. It's largely because of Prime Minister's popularity rating is still high. 58% still is very high. And this is largely because of his ability to reinvent himself. Each year, you have a new tagline, a new theme, a new scheme for a different set of cohort. That is one thing. Second thing, and we get back to what we were discussing earlier, the popularity rating of the NDA has fallen by 10 percentage point, but this has not moved to the unsatisfied level. This is largely moving to the can't say or don't know or other options. Correct. So you win elections or win narratives when people swing from one alliance to the other. There is a 10% decline in NDA's performance rating, but these set of voters do not see the confidence in the opposition to lure them or woo them to their side. And that is what is the missing
But
link.
Amitabh ji, for a moment, if you reflect, because that really shows the popularity, Rajdeep, of the Prime Minister here, if you reflect for a moment, February, if we hark back to our last Mood of the Nation survey, both the Prime Minister and the NDA performance was judged at an even keel, 62%, 62%. The drop for the Prime Minister has only been 4%, but the drop for the NDA has been a solid 10%. So clearly, somewhere down the line, you have the Prime Minister who's taking and still the poster boy of what the NDA alliance is.
Yeah, but it is not resulting in benefit for the opposition, and that perhaps reflects the trust deficit that the opposition still has to battle with, which will come to it. But before I come to you, Yashwant, Sanju Verma putting her finger up is a very dangerous thing, because if I don't sort of get her in, she will then go on Twitter and say Rajdeep was unfair to us. So quickly respond, ma'am. We have lots of guests, 30 seconds. Go ahead.
I'll take 45 seconds if you indulge me, and whatever my finger might, whatever my finger might denote, that apart, let me come to the moot point. I think Maria raised a very important issue. Governance related narrative should be predominant. But I will tell one thing, disagreeing with her slightly. What are the top 10 achievements of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, which no one seems to be dwelling on? The fact of the matter is, Vikas bhi, Astha bhi. 12 crore toilets under Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, 10 crore, gas cylinders given freely under Ujjwala scheme. You have 47 crore Ayushman Bharat cards given to people. You have 25 crore soil health cards given to farmers. You have something called 40,000 kilometers of railway electrification, which is done. You have abrogation of Article 370, which was discriminatory. You have the Ram Janmabhoomi Mandir, which has come to fruition after being a civilizational battle, which was unresolved for 500 long years. And most importantly, very quickly, in 10 seconds, the world's 4th largest economy, the world's 8th largest tourist economy, the world's 4th largest foreign exchange reserves, the world's 7th largest gold reserves, the world's 2nd largest steel producer.
I just want to stop you for a moment. Ma'am, I have to go. Ma'am, just a minute. I take your point, but that's not what our poll is showing. And Yashwant, you need to respond to that, because here is Sanju Verma throwing the facts at us, both in terms of welfare benefits, which the Prime Minister and his government have made a big part of certainly their political outreach, the Labharti constituency. Yet, when I look at the numbers, the fact is that on economy, the NDA's government biggest failure, unemployment, price rise, which between them come to 48%. And it's not in your development, only comes at 10%. So Prime Minister and his government associated with Ram Temple and Operation Sindhu, not with any of the issues that Sanju Verma is pointing out. In fact, on economy, the government doesn't get the kind of high rating that Sanju was hoping. I don't think the average person cares whether we are 4th or 5th largest economy when I'm living a life on the margins and my consumable income is not growing.
Rajdeep, I'm not an economist, but what I can tell you for sure that in our routine trackers for the last many years, the general sentiment of the people on the ground is that economy is under stress. Huge stress.
It's under stress.
Absolutely under stress. People say, big number of people are saying that running the kitchen is getting more and more difficult. And this after when we are running world's largest free food program. So let's keep that aside. One important point which Amitabh mentioned, I would just come back to that, is that when you look at the 10-point drop of NDA numbers, the numbers are not swinging to the other side. And Preeti, you remember in our PSC, right during the Sindoor and after the ceasefire happened, we did report that huge number of Modi and BJP supporters were upset and angry with the way ceasefire was carried out. Now, when you look at that number, this is directly in continuation with that. I see a connect between the two. there is an anger the way the ceasefire happened, right? That is why the satisfaction is going down. But they remain a loyal Modi supporter. That is why Modi's personal number do not
It's
drop.
still up.
No, but is the
And it is
satisfaction
not
going
shifting.
down? No, sir, but is the satisfaction, Yashwant, going down because of Sindoor or because of the economic stress that you spoke about? Is there a sense that people are stressed out at the bottom? So while you may spin this narrative that, all is well, the truth of the matter is all is not well as per this survey.
Our survey numbers on economy were equally stressed even when Mr. Modi was at 72%. That's a very important point for you to understand. If Operation Sindoor would not have been, in narrative perspective, would not have been knocked down by Donald Trump's tweet and abrupt ceasefire, then I would have been, as a pollster, expecting Balakot kind of spike. In the popularity rating.
So you're saying the satisfaction decline is primarily because there isn't that
Primarily
euphoria
because
after Operation Sindoor.
Operation
It's not
Sindoor.
about economy. You agree with that, Raj? Or is there a sense that we are in very, very tricky economic times?
We are.
I mean,
Both the
I'm
things
looking at
are
the
true.
Business Today survey. The Business Today has done a survey, latest one. Economic confidence, business confidence is at its lowest for 11 quarters now.
And this is the paradox. Anybody else in any democratic thing, elected government, you would find that issues such as corruption, price rise, jobs, lack of jobs, would have brought a government down. Here you see this, despite the fact that the economy is not functioning as, say, our poll is showing, right? Maybe we are the fastest growing economy, but middling in terms of actual growth, and we need much, much more as a result. And yet, Prime Minister Modi and the BJP keeps coming back to power. There's something that is not clicking.
Is that the nationalism card, Maria? Is that the card that with the Hindutva come
I just
nationalism?
wanted to,
Yes.
if you take a look at the failures of this, I think Mr. Modi would have liked his successes to be precisely that unemployment is being met, prices are down, as well as economic growth is there. Instead, we are showing that as his failures, and for someone who's in government right now, to have Ram Temple as his number one, because Mr. Modi was one of the few people that was able to do both nationalism, development, and welfareism in a different package, which got him this far. That's why I'm coming to this point, that I think now there is crunch time happening. And one of the things that is we never look at, we always look at the success of Modi, but we don't look at the failures of the opposition. And there, let us talk about the problems.
We'll come to the opposition in a few minutes from now. We'll come to the opposition sir, in a few minutes. I'm just trying to understand whether nationalism sustains Modi. So irrespective of if there are economic challenges, even if there is stress in the economy, people say, "Lekin desh to hai." And that's been Mr. Modi's success. He's managed to control this narrative of nationalism almost totally for a decade and more.
It's about political will. That's what Mr. Modi has displayed.
taking tough decisions.
That I'm taking tough decisions. But Rajdeep, let's not forget that since its inception, the BJP believed in three core principles, three core ideas. Ram Temple achieved, abrogation of Article 370 done, only UCC is left. Now the question is, what will generate that hyper-nationalism? Will this, Operation Sindoor is done. Balakot is done. What will generate that kind of
We will take on the United States.
What
Watch
will
out,
take on-
United States.
what will take on
We will
Yes,
take
go
on.
ahead, go ahead.
It's not that we will
He's already
take on.
shown- he's already shown some-
We are already taking on
How?
the United States. We are not buckling under his
But
pressure.
first you've got to get ease of doing business. First you've got to get your economic reforms in place.
Absolutely. Those
It's
reforms
too
are
much of it
required.
about narrative, Swadeshi
It is
2.0.
not
It's
just
not
about
changing
narrative.
on the ground.
Rajdeep,
MSMEs
if I
are
may,
hurting.
Rajdeep, if I may, the change that is happening is at a civilizational level, which a lot of us don't even understand.
If I lost my job, why do I care about civilizational level?
At a civilizational level, how many 800 people are being fed free food since COVID times?
That's hardly a recipe for building a
It is not a
stronger
recipe
India.
for building a
Where
strong
are the
India.
livelihoods?
But
Where
at
are the
least you're
jobs?
taking
Gaurav?
everyone.
You seem to suggest that taking on America through rhetoric is
It is
enough
not
to
just
create.
rhetoric.
Where is the reality on the ground? The Atmanirbhar Bharat has to start working on the ground.
And that is
MSMEs
why-
are suffering. That's what the poll is also showing.
It is indeed showing that. It is indeed showing that. But are we, like many powerful countries who are reliant on America for their security? I don't want to name those countries, whether in Europe or in other parts of Asia that have American bases there. They have kowtowed. We are not kowtowing to America.
We are going to China and Russia to seek new allies. The same
they are
China
not
that you
seeking-
wanted TikTok banned a few years ago.
Absolutely. And but then again, you are being nimble-footed in dealing with the situation.
It becomes nimble-footed
It is
now that you
right now
reach out to the
nimble.
Sheikh.
It is-
Z, you said nothing to do with China, who a few months ago was hand in glove with Pakistan. Look at how you're changing the narrative.
No, I'm not changing the narrative. I'm just stating facts on ground. Yes, China is a threat. Yes, China is, but that's also a ground reality that you have to deal with, right?
So this is the new narrative now, that we are nimble-footed. We are now going to be hand in glove with China, the same China that you were saying was our main enemy.
The global churn, it's a Chakravyuh. We're in the middle of that Chakravyuh and we're dealing with the situation. Whether you're an Abhimanyu or an Arjun, we'll only know later. And to the best of my understanding, the way you're nimble-footedly trying to deal with it, yes, we want great ties with America. It holds us in great stead. At the same time, we don't want inimical ties with China because we need to grow.
So you don't think our nationalist rhetoric, our nationalist narrative has taken any kind of a hit in recent times?
One, I don't think there is anything called hyper-nationalism. I think these are terminology coined by those who don't want us to grow as a strong economy and military. So to be a world power, the number 1, 2, 3 that we aspire to be, we have to be economically strong, we have to be militarily strong. It cannot be one or the other, it has to be both. Otherwise, remember, Bharat was Sone ki chidiya always. You had invaders attacking you and looting that wealth.
Sure, but
so
beyond,
right now,
beyond the rhetoric, I'm going to our poll.
If you're strong
our poll is
economically
clearly
and
showing we are
militarily,
economically stressed, and therefore that's one major number coming out.
Yes.
But it's
Rajdeep,
I don't want to make it a Gaurav versus Rajdeep democratic news. Very quickly, sir.
Because
we've got to go to
we
the
were
opposition.
analyzing this paradox.
Yes.
And I think you must give credit to Mr. Modi in terms of the work that he does. There is a sincerity that comes through. He seems, I mean, look, it's 11 years, there's been no corruption charges pushed on him. He works very hard, and people are forgiving when they think that the person is put his shoulder to the wheel.
He's trying his best.
And he's decisive, he's a strong leader. As she had mentioned, he has gone and executed the kind of things, not only on
So then the governance deficit doesn't matter, Mr. Chengappa.
Rajdeep,
Are you saying the governance deficit doesn't matter?
Sincerity.
That is why
Ease of doing business is suffering. Ask any businessman.
No, that is why his numbers stay up. But that is why if you see in our in the magazine, while Prime Minister Modi holds firm, we are saying but. And those
small but.
Those caveats are very important.
but Rajdeep, I just want to make a quick point. Just-
Preeti, I'll come to you in a moment. Let Gaurav give some more numbers to our questions. Go ahead, Gaurav.
now we come to that big point on who is best suited to lead India. And the India Today Mood of the Nation survey with CVoter very clearly, and just take a look at these numbers, Narendra Modi is still best suited to lead India at this stage. So Narendra Modi at 52%. So 52% of the respondents want Narendra Modi to lead Bharat. 25%, that's where Rahul Gandhi is, less than half of what the number of people want Narendra Modi. 25% want Rahul Gandhi, 52% people want Prime Minister Narendra Modi to lead the country. Point one. Point two, who after Narendra Modi is a question that often comes. Let's also take a look. Best suited to succeed Narendra Modi as BJP is faced. And that's also very interesting when you look at these numbers. Amit Shah, 28% of the respondents believe Union Home Minister Amit Shah is best suited for the job after Narendra Modi, and Yogi Adityanath is at 26%. So that's again very close. Union Home Minister a little ahead of the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister, but then India, once again, according to the India Today Mood of the Nation survey, says 52% Indians want Narendra Modi to lead the nation.
To that, Preeti, 52% Narendra Modi, 25% Rahul Gandhi. Is he still, once you make it Modi versus Rahul, there's still only one winner?
True. And I just want to also reflect, Rajdeep, to what we were discussing earlier. You know, for Narendra Modi, if you've seen, the political theatre has always been up against a great adversary. And his charting a new course right now with what is being projected, taking on Trump, is perfectly cut for Narendra Modi, which will only aid in his domestic politics. And it's already happening. You can see that.
Rajdeep, we do ask the two hearts question in our daily tracker, you know,
Modi or Rahul?
Between Modi and
It's a
Rahul,
direct
if one has to, it's a
question you
direct question. And it's still, you know, when I was looking at the numbers, it was 58 Narendra Modi and 30 to Rahul. So Rahul Gandhi goes up, but only up to 30, and he goes up to 58. So the ratio still remains 1:2 as far as the numbers are concerned.
And that's a substantial gap.
That's a substantial
Very
gap.
quickly, Sanjay Jha, Sanju Verma, respond to what you've just heard. Best suited to be next Prime Minister Sanjay Jha, 52%, Narendra Modi, Rahul Gandhi, 25%. Is Rahul Gandhi the perfect opponent in a way? You like cricket as I do. Perfect matchup for Narendra Modi. A quick response.
I think, Rajdeep, let's be clear here. People change and circumstances change. I think Rahul Gandhi is clearly reinvigorated himself. After the Bharat Jodo Yatra, he came across as a moral, social crusader. It had some political advantages as well. But if you look at him closely during the Bihar campaign that has already begun, I think he sounds more like a full-fledged politician. He's enjoying the interactions. He's actually making some extremely brilliant sound bites. And I think that tells you that as a politician, Rahul Gandhi feels ready today. And, he's calling Narendra Modi Narendra surrender, or, accusing him directly for stealing the elections of the past, shows a belligerence that you need in politics. You got to show the hunger that you can beat the other guy no matter what the pollsters say. And I think things change dramatically. Bihar
You're
could
saying
be just
things change?
the proof
Yeah,
of the
you're
pudding.
saying things change dramatically. Let me get Sanju Verma quickly. Sanju Verma, you want to quickly respond to those numbers that we just put up?
Yes. Rajdeep, with no offense to you, I think Rahul
And then
Gandhi
be
needs
offensive,
to
but go ahead.
remove. Can I please don't heckle me? You've called me. I've
How
been
is that
sitting and listening.
heckling?
Now have the decency to listen to what I'm going to say. First and foremost, I think there are unofficial brand ambassadors of Rahul Gandhi. They are doing more damage to him than good. One of them is Rajdeep Sardesai. Rajdeep Sardesai is
I said he's the perfect opponent for Narendra Modi. Madam, which alternate universe are you living in? I'm not heckling you. You can't make a comment about me which is unjustified, but go ahead.
You make your comment after I'm done with my comment. You keep talking about freedom of speech, but you're the most intolerant anchor I have seen. The moment I start rattling out data, you get uncomfortable. Please don't get uncomfortable. Now keep quiet and listen. सुनने की शक्ति रखो. ठीक है? हाँ, सुनने की शक्ति रखिए. Rajdeep Sardesai.
मेरी छाती छप्पन की है. Go ahead.
You can't just keep talking all the time. Now let me speak. I'm not here to just listen to anybody's diatribe.
30
First
seconds.
and foremost. No, not 30 seconds. I've been listening to Sanjay Jha for 2 minutes. First, let me make one thing very clear. Forget about fourth largest economy. Forget about fourth largest forex reserves. This is data by Niti Aayog. This is data by NASFIRM. 17.6 crore jobs created by the Modi government in the last 11 years. Have I ever seen media talking about it? No. This is data by NABARD. In the last 5 years, average rural income is up from 8,000 rupees a month to 13,000 rupees a month, which is a 62% growth. Have I seen media talk about it? No. We were using our own indigenously built kamikaze striker drones during Operation Sindoor. We used our indigenously built surface-to-air missile Akash. We used indigenous BrahMos. We use indigenous Pinaka multi-barrel rocket launcher. Media में इस बारे में जिक्र
Okay,
हुआ ही नहीं
ma'am,
जितना
you're
होना
blaming
चाहिए.
the... No, your time
My
is up.
final point.
Ma'am, I
My
have lots
final
of guests.
point.
Yeah, final
My
point.
final
Go
point.
ahead.
Yes. Final point is when you say people are not seeing impact on the ground, I would say journalists need a reality check because 25 crore people have been uplifted from poverty. This is IMF saying it, not Sanju Verma. Why have you not asked people, where are those 25 crore people who've been uplifted out of
Ma'am,
poverty?
I have to go by the poll numbers. I have to go.
Good 50%, poor 15%. So this is the number in terms of percentage on what our respondents feel on how the leader of opposition has performed. If you look at, we'll put out the tracker, Rajdeep, on how the leader of opposition was viewed this February, January, when we conducted the Mood of the Nation survey earlier, and to now, there seems to be a jump in a positive sense for Rahul Gandhi.
Interesting, because if I break this down further, Preeti, outstanding is 28%, good is 22%, which is roughly corresponding to what it was in February 2025 when it was around 49%. So Rahul's numbers as a leader of the opposition are holding firm, which is one straight takeaway that he is now perhaps seen as the principal figure, at least, of the opposition as of now. These are...
Yeah.
No, you are missing two important points.
Yeah.
Tell me.
The gap, the outstanding part has gone up
By 3%.
Okay, and the poor part has dropped
Dramatically
dramatically.
dropped.
So I think he has scored big. But where the problem would be, inside parliament he has done, he has scored. Now, the problem will again, where Amitabh said very clearly, whether is he he is going to make this an institutional battle or battle against Prime Minister Modi in person. And the way it is going, I am dead sure it will again go down to a personal attack. That's how presidential, I don't know whoever is advising Rahul Gandhi in that way. He will gain as long as he will attack the government, attack the party, attack the degradation of the institution. But because of that 15 to 20% Modi voter, as long as he is going to attack Mr. Modi personally, that swing voter will not come his way. And as we are talking, I was just showing to Maria the latest, because this entire vote chori campaign was against the ECI, against the BJP, but from the official handle of the Congress, I just saw the mugshot of Prime Minister Modi as the vote chor.
So you're saying the moment it becomes personal attacks, Rahul Gandhi doesn't benefit. When he's able to make attacks on institutions or governance issues, that's where he succeeds more. Is there a lesson in a sense for Rahul Gandhi that people are willing to welcome a leader of the opposition who takes on the government? But when you make it a personality fight, then it plays into Mr. Modi's Namdar versus Kamdar narrative yet again.
Well, let's give Rahul.
Or is that narrative over now, Namdar versus Kamdar? That Rahul Gandhi has proven himself in that sense.
I think it's considerably matured as a leader, and we've seen that progression that has been there over the years after Bharat Jodo Yatra. We're now seeing him in a different avatar itself in taking on vote chori.
But when he says Narendra surrender, for example, it doesn't seem to work, does it?
Fair enough. But if you take a look at the numbers, Rajdeep, and let's give credit where it's due, this is good for the Congress and for Rahul Gandhi himself. Clearly, the electorate believes that he is the emerging leader and the prime challenger to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Whether that works or not, a couple of things depend. Firstly, Rahul Gandhi is now seen as the sheet anchor of the Congress. Should be like Shubman Gill, go out and hit sixes, but also be like Rahul Dravid, defend quite strongly. To use your cricket.
Shubman Gill is a bad example because he scored big runs in his first test as captain. Rahul Gandhi has been captain now for several years.
Just like Shubman Gill, Rahul Gandhi still has long innings to go. But if you take a look at that, the fact, what does it mean when Yashwant talks of the fact that Congress doesn't cross 20%, Rahul Gandhi doesn't cross 25%, and the gap between him and Prime Minister Modi in popularity is 27%. It means that clearly the Congress has to begin to ally with other parties as they did with the India Alliance. Now, let's take a look at where the Congress can succeed because of the kind of opposition that's there. Firstly, it has to have a cohesive alliance. That is missing in the India Alliance. That's a very important thing. Second, they have to convert anti-incumbency into electoral victories. They're not being able to do that. And thirdly, I think itself, in terms of the alternative narrative that Rahul Gandhi should be bringing. He's seen as a rebel. He's brought out a lot of important issues. But both, let's give him credit, social justice, economic justice. But he needs a narrative that can challenge the BJP economically and bring a clear alternative where you say, okay, his narrative can take on what Mr. Modi has done in the past few years, has actually taken a lot of the left plank, the welfare plank that the Congress had, integrated that. Now is time for Rahul Gandhi to enunciate that very clear model, both political, economic, and social, that will push it.
Okay, we've got lots of numbers. We've got lots of numbers. Just a minute, sir. We've got lots of numbers that we need to go through. Performance of Congress's opposition, because this will give you a sense of where the Congress stands. In the MOTN in August 2023, exactly 2 years ago, it was 43%. It's now up to 47%, which is its highest over the last 2 years in terms of good. In terms of poor, it remains 32% in MOTN August 2023 to August 2025. So there's a strong voter also who believes Rahul Gandhi is simply not good enough. Let's keep that also in mind. So the strong BJP voter has no real time for Rahul Gandhi.
But that's not true. Not Rahul Gandhi is good enough.
No, yes. The Congress Party. The Congress Party.
Congress Party.
Sorry, Congress Party.
7% jump, Rajdeep.
Yeah,
It's not a small number.
Just a minute.
It's not a small number.
Yeah, the Congress Party's performance is still seen by 32% as poor. Good has risen from 43 to 47%. Do you think Congress is the real opposition party? Here is the good news for the Congress now, because 66% are clearly saying Congress is the real opposition party. So that question which lingered for a long time before 2024 Lok Sabha has been seemingly settled. The Congress is seen as the principal opposition party. Earlier there were polls we did where Arvind Kejriwal and others were also seen as formidable opposition leaders. Which Congress leader is best suited to lead the party? Rahul Gandhi was at 23% in August 2022. He's now up to 38%. So he's clearly seen as the face of his party now. Priyanka Gandhi, who's next best, was at 9% in 2022. She comes down to 7%. But by and large, Rahul Gandhi is now seen as the face of the Congress and the opposition. Should India bloc continue? Yes, say 63%, no, say 25%. And that comes to the point that Raj Chengappa made. You need a much more cohesive opposition if you're going to take on Prime Minister. It can't become an individual personality, presidential style fight. You will need a wider opposition. And the final question that we raised on the opposition, best suited to lead the India bloc. Rahul Gandhi goes up from 24% in February 2025, the last time we did the poll, to 28%. Mamata Banerjee comes from 14% down to 8%. Akhilesh Yadav is more or less the same, 6 to 7%. Arvind Kejriwal is down from 9% to 6%. Remember, they lost Delhi in February. So, by and large, when I look at these numbers, can I say that Rahul Gandhi has now established himself as the face of the opposition?
Absolutely. Rahul Gandhi, after the Bharat Jodo Yatra, it's a complete reinvention of Rahul Gandhi. But if I may continue with Raj Chengappa's cricket analogy, what he requires is consistency.
Exactly.
So batting like Rahul Dravid and more recently like Virat Kohli, you know, to use your language. So if he bats consistently, he's always there. Narendra Modi is seen 24/7 on the job. If Rahul Gandhi is seen 24/7 on the job, half that battle is won. Okay, Maria.
Okay, I'll just take that thought ahead. And also, issues have to be consistent.
Yes.
While before 2024 elections, there was this constitution pe khatre mein hai. Now it is about vote chori. There has to be an alternate plan also to economic distress. That is not coming from the
He needs a
Congress.
white paper on how will the Congress address
up with
India's
a plan.
economic challenge. A clear plan, and you bang home that plan.
Rajdeep,
Yes,
can
go
I
ahead
make
now,
a
Preeti.
distinction? I just want to make a distinction. Acceptable as leader of opposition in parliament by other India bloc parties and opposition parties, yes. But acceptable to lead the India bloc. There's a big question mark on that, because if you look at the figures there of a Mamata Banerjee and Arvind Kejriwal and you hark back to their political parties, they don't think they're a part of the India bloc anymore.
Yes.
So there is a resistance in accepting him still within the India bloc as the person who will lead the India bloc. In parliament, it's a different story. And that is which leads us to the larger question, is there still an India bloc? Is there a cohesive opposition?
That's a good point.
Take
Yes,
a
go
moment,
ahead.
take a
Yes,
moment
go
to
ahead.
appreciate one thing which we need to, is the people of India. Public is very clear, India needs a strong opposition.
Absolutely.
Public is very clear, if India has an opposition, the center of that opposition, the pivotal point of that opposition is Congress. Public is also very clear, without the Gandhis, Congress is nowhere. So, appreciate the fact that public knows, understands and analyzes things in right perspective. By the way,
the Congress president.
despite the Congress
President.
and also the numbers of 2/3 to 70% which public is saying all these things includes those who are supporting the BJP and those who are supporting Narendra Modi. Because if their cap is 48, 50% and you are getting an emotion of 66, 67% saying you need India bloc, you need Congress in that, that means people at large in this country want a stronger opposition. But I totally appreciate what Gaurav said. The problem are twofold. Number one, consistency, because if you look at the MOTN numbers throughout the years for Rahul Gandhi, it has a zigzag movement.
But Yashwant,
It
hasn't
picks
the
up and then
consistency
he goes
question
off
been
to some
answered
vacation.
at least in the last 1 year? Because I actually don't see consistency as a problem. I see it a problem where the other India Alliance parties are concerned. Since I'm giving you a 1 year timeline.
No, it's okay.
Since election
Yeah, I agree with you.
2024,
I agree with
having
you.
lost 3 of the big elections right after that, Rahul Gandhi has been consistent.
I agree
He's
with
been
you.
on the ground and he's been
So
consistent.
he needs to be consistent, number one.
With an
As far as
alternative plan.
active political behavior
Till
is
now, he's been
concerned,
consistent.
number one. Number two, personal attack against Modi.
That I agree.
Is
That is
counterproductive.
something which is a big writing on the wall. I don't know why they are unable to
So you're
read
saying
it.
that, okay, let's ask Sanjay Jha. Sanjay Jha, that's the point in a way, that the moment it becomes Rahul Gandhi versus Narendra Modi presidential contest, you're playing into Mr. Modi's hand. The moment you make it about policies, the moment you make it about the kind of organizational strength, you have a better chance. I mean, the India Alliance, for God's sake, since 2024 hasn't even met to have a common minimum program, to work together. Some battles they fight together, others they don't. I mean, isn't that part of the problem? Let's acknowledge it. And leadership is about bringing people together. That's the challenge, really. Leadership is not just about sound bites. Sound bites, even I can give good sound bites. That doesn't make me a leader of the opposition.
Rajdeep, ironically, it's a contrarian view, which is true. Let me tell you, in fact, your survey proves it. Number one, Mr. Modi has feet of clay. You know, this whole assumption that we are making that Mr. Modi is infallible, he's beyond reproach, is, I think, an argument that is now thinned out. And frankly, whether it's Operation Sindoor, where we all agree that Mr. Modi's image has taken a massive dent, or in this vote chori campaign where Rahul is directly targeting Narendra Modi, using election commission as an instrument for hijacking elections, the attack is on Narendra Modi. I
So
think
you
when
think that
are
works?
the
You don't
leader
think
of
that's
the opposition-
counterproductive? You don't think it's counterproductive?
I think it would have been counterproductive when Mr. Modi was riding a high. When Mr. Modi is now, frankly, looking extremely vulnerable, that would be the right strategy to actually take this forward. You have to now expose the chinks in his armor. And he, like any
May I-
human being, has
Right.
got feet of clay. It's pretty
Okay.
obvious.
Okay, Sanju
Can I-
Verma's finger is raised again, which is again a warning to me. Go ahead, Sanju Verma.
Thank you. You know, Rajdeep, on a lighter note, I see the moment you talk about Rahul Gandhi, you know, you have that enigmatic smile on your face. You look
My
so
smile is-
enthused. But
Now,
But
now
anyway,
you
let
become
me-
a face reader. In your young age, you're
Yes.
becoming a face reader.
okay,
ahead.
now let me, you know, I think Raj Chengappa gave a very interesting cricket analogy. I would like to take that forward, but on a different note. You know, I've said this in the past, and I say this, uninhibitedly. Narendra Modi is the only leader. He has the flair, the flamboyance, and that X factor of a Virat Kohli. He has the consistency of a Rahul Dravid. He has the success and strike rate of a Sachin Tendulkar. And he has the resilience of a MS Dhoni. And you know, being an MBA student and an economist, I was taught very early on in life. There's this famous marketing guru called Philip Kotler. He said, when a product fails, the biggest disservice you can do to that product is to not take it off the shelf. Now, I will tell you, Congress has three big negatives. First one, Rahul Gandhi. Second, Rahul Gandhi. Third, Rahul Gandhi. Rahul Gandhi, as Preeti said, has been very consistent. But in a negative sense is what I would like to point out. Show me one party, one neta who under his belt has 92 big and small defeats to his credit, and yet the entire left liberal woke cabal says, वाह जी वाह, अरे राहुल गांधी ने भारत जोड़ो यात्रा कर ली, उसके बाद महाराष्ट्र चुनाव
Sanju
हार
Verma,
गए,
I'm only
उसके बाद
talking about the
हरियाणा
last
चुनाव
1 year.
हार
In
गए,
terms of narrative
उसके
being on
बाद
ground,
दिल्ली
Rahul
चुनाव
Gandhi has
हार
been
गए।
consistent. He needs to sustain it. Number
Preeti,
one,
let me
yes.
finish.
No,
Madam, you made-
Sanju Verma,
Madam-
you made your point. This was a question about the opposition. You made your point. You have said the Congress is big. Madam, you have made your point. Sir,
Madam,
Preeti
Rajdeep
response.
takes kindly to all the jibes that you make at him. I won't take that kindly.
Arey, don't be that.
No,
Don't
I
worry, I
won't.
can defend
I
myself.
won't. He takes it kindly. I'm not going to take it kindly. So
Okay,
before
there's no person. Now,
Yeah.
please put down the
Before
finger.
you're gonna get
Sanju.
down to making-
Yeah, well, what's the
yeah,
point
okay,
you
yeah.
want to make, Preeti? When
No,
she says, where do you, Rahul Gandhi, according to Sanju Verma, has been consistent in the fact that he has led Congress to defeat after defeat. That's an
No,
argument these
that,
critics
I
keep
agree.
making.
Nobody,
What's the answer then?
Nobody is taking that away. I'm not here defending Rahul Gandhi.
No,
Rajdeep,
I mean,
number
no,
one. Number two.
how would, you see, with these numbers, there is that question also.
Of
You've
course
got to show
there is.
that you
I
can
am
win
looking
elections.
at it purely by the data we have put on the screen.
Yes.
The data clearly seems to suggest that people are perceiving Rahul Gandhi as an able opposition leader.
As an opposition
Yes.
leader, not necessarily making the transition to being someone whom you can elect as government.
No, 1 second, 1 second. Who is the second person, if not Narendra Modi? Who?
Rahul Gandhi.
Yeah, so there
But
are
that's the gap
25%.
is huge.
Of course, there is a gap. That's why he needs to be consistent. All I'm saying is he needs to be consistent in being consistent.
In what? Consistent in what?
A, raising the right issues, keeping the narrative going, and hitting the ground.
What's the narrative?
Well, in the last 1 year, haven't you seen it change? Ever since, like I said, he took a big defeat where he lost 2-3 to the NDA, where the NDA won 3 big elections, which he thought he was going to win. He didn't disappear, no? He came back. He raised the caste census. He made sure, or at least he can, to his audience, take credit that the government introduced the caste census because it was the rallying point of Rahul Gandhi and the Congress. From there, he moved on to Operation Sindoor happens. At that point of time, at least the opposition parties got the narrative right. They supported the government. And he did so publicly. But there were questions that needed to be answered at the back of the ceasefire. They raised it in parliament and outside. They got the narrative right there.
Okay, so you're saying that Rahul Gandhi has been
vote
consistent
chori,
in
attacking the election,
in getting
they've got
his
the
narrative
narrative
right. Okay, Amitabh Tiwari. Therefore, is the jury still out on Rahul Gandhi? I wrote once in one of my books, Rahul Gandhi has never missed an opportunity to miss an opportunity. Has he now? Have we moved away from that to now with these poll numbers clearly showing that Rahul Gandhi is challenger number one? And should that lead Sanju Verma to smile even more broadly, or is she be guilty of being complacent?
See, the numbers clearly show that he has consolidated his support as the tallest opposition leader. So what is Congress, let's say, missing in its armor, as you asked? One is that when the Prime Minister Modi came in 2014, he had a Gujarat model of development on his back. The Congress party needs to create a Telangana or a Karnataka model of development where it is in power for the next 4 to 5 years. And also on that model of development, win the state elections in 2023 to showcase that it has a model which has worked successfully. That is number one. Second is that he represents an alternative style of leadership. He is not Narendra Modi. People do vote on leadership, but he is appealing to a section of voters who do not, or who, let's say, embrace leaders who are like them, like an Aam Aadmi, reaching out to people, mixing with the people, etc. So these are very two contrasting styles of leadership. That is number two. And the third is that consistency is, of course, is required, but on the main issues of unemployment, price rise, and economic growth, if you do a word check on what Rahul Gandhi has spoken in the last 1.5 years, these words would not get priority. It would be social justice, vote chori, etc., etc. What we need, what the people need, perhaps, is a strong opposition. But to switch from NDA to a UPA or India bloc, they need clear solutions for unemployment, price rise, and economic.
There's another challenge,
Yes,
if I may. The challenge for the opposition is for the Congress to grow. It has to grow in Uttar Pradesh. Will it be at the cost of the Samajwadi Party? If it has to grow in Bihar, will it be at the cost of RJD? Will they fight together or will they fight each other? Now, if
in
that
6 months, West Bengal.
Absolutely, in West Bengal. So where will the Congress party grow? If their only aim is to defeat the BJP, they will keep tying up with regional parties, and this is a problem they've grappled with for quarter of a century and always taken a hit.
I think you raise a very important point, because the truth of the matter is, as we've seen, and even to some extent in 2024, less so, whenever there were direct contests between the BJP and Congress, especially in 2014 and 19, it was advantage BJP. It was the regional parties, as some data shows, that pulled the Congress up in several states, UP being a classic example. Can the Congress, therefore, and this number is important, India Alliance, 63% are saying we want an alliance. It's not just Congress only or Rahul Gandhi only.
That's the problem.
The problem is the Congress seems to believe it's Rahul Gandhi only or the Congress only that can challenge Mr. Modi. Does the Congress realize that it's only when they are united, Sanjay Jha, very quickly, with the others, that you've got to concede space? The days of arrogance are over. Ekla chalo re is over. The days ke hamara hi neta banega are over.
Rajdeep,
I'm seeing it even in Bihar. Let's be honest, on the ground, Tejasvi Yadav is the real leader of Bihar.
And the Congress hasn't endorsed him
next year
directly.
you're going into West Bengal, you're going into Punjab. You're taking on an Aam Aadmi party who's technically a part of your India alliance. You're taking out an TMC, which is your alliance.
So Sanjay Jha, do you believe that wake-up call also that the Congress needs? That you've got to start you've got to start trusting others only, not the old Congress ki hum hi hai.
Yeah, Rajdeep, I think the Congress has become pragmatic. It's learned from its bitter defeats, and it has to lead the India alliance. Obviously, it is the linchpin of the entire alliance. But let me tell you, on Bihar, it is
even have a common minimum program.
No, what? I'm just coming to that. Tejasvi is the chief ministerial face of the alliance in Bihar. There's no doubt about it. I think the next year's elections are critical.
That's right.
Because both Kerala and Assam can be two states that the Congress can win on its own. And Tamil Nadu may look a little easier. Puducherry is up for grabs. I think the Congress needs to win Assam to make a statement that it can defeat BJP head on. That's the critical messaging that the Congress needs to send.
Okay, we saw. Yes, Maria, final word.
Just one point. We have seen that
No, madam,
in the
sorry.
last 70 years, whenever there is a transition from a strong government to another strong government, there is that interim period of 5 to 6 years or perhaps 7, 8 or 10 years when there is coalition governments. That is the reason why we are seeing this milli-julie kind of a argument in the opposition space, where the opposition is still taking shape. Although Rahul Gandhi is the face, still the opposition, how will whether the growth of the Congress will come at the cost of the RJD or the Samajwadi Party, that will be answered in the due course. But if there is a Rahul Gandhi who is the principal opposition, who is able to work around with the egos and other ambitions of leaders like a Tejasvi and an Akhilesh, then perhaps it will be an
That's
answer.
the challenge. That's the challenge. That's what Sonia Gandhi achieved to a large extent in 2003, before the 2004, was willing to put her ego aside to reach out to other opposition
So maybe
leaders.
that is what is happening
That
right
may
now.
well be one of the many challenges that Rahul Gandhi, but decoding Rahul Gandhi will remain a permanent subject. According to Sanju Verma, I get very enthused by it. I get enthused when I talk about Narendra Modi as well. I get very enthused when I speak to you, Sanju Verma, as well. So relax, don't go on Twitter and say you weren't given enough time, that you can debate on another day. But we are continuing with our Mood of the Nation survey. When we come back, we are coming to the T factor. What does the T factor mean? Tariffs. That could become an... Now, the T factor, the tariff factor, that's been talked about. How should India react to what the Trump administration is doing? Has India dealt with it well or not? And should we be now worried about Trump's high tariffs? First, take a look at the methodology of our Mood of the Nation poll. The survey date, July 1 to August 14, 2025. Respondents 54,788, all done by CVoter, all Lok Sabha segments across all states covered. 1,52,038 additional interviews from CVoter's regular tracker. 2,06,000 respondents considered for this report. Now, we'll analyze this with our special guest. Joining me is Group Editor, Business Today, Siddharth Zarabi. He's tracked the economy for years now. Maria Shakil, Senior Editor, is with us. So is Gaurav Sawan. Preeti Chaudhary, my colleague, is also with us. Also joining us at this moment is Shankar Iyer, someone who's written exhaustively on India's political economy, and Arun Kumar, someone who's been a rather trenchant critic, if I may say so, of the Modi government. Appreciate all of you joining us here on the Mood of the Nation, and I'm going to come to the first big number we are going to look at. The first question that we posed: are you worried about Trump's high tariffs on India? Remember, the 50% tariffs kicked in. Yes, say 63%. 63% or over 6 in 10 voters are worried. No, say 27%. 10% say can't say or don't know. So the first emphatic number, Siddharth Zarabi, that we are getting is very clearly that there is concern over Trump's high tariffs. And remember, this poll is not just about exporters or those directly affected, but those who are suggesting a general sentiment of concern.
Very clearly, Rajdeep, this is a mass number, and I would say that if this were to be conducted as a live survey or over the past week or so, this number of yes would have swung even further. You perhaps might have had 9 out of 10 respondents. Look at that number of respondents that you spoke about, and I imagine there is a mass representation in that. And Trump's tariffs will hit mass employment generating sectors, textiles, gems and jewelry. Corporate India, organized India, those with, let's say, 10,000 crore of profitability and above. For example, there are well over 4,000 companies in that range. They might be able to withstand this far more better than middle and small companies and entrepreneurs alongside. And that is why I believe that this is a very important data. The time frame clearly tells us those worries were building up, especially on account of the first 25% being imposed, but with 25%, and more importantly, Rajdeep, the rhetoric is very clearly worrying people. And just one more quick point, Rajdeep, this comes at a time when 2025 is very clearly a historic year as far as our taxation reforms are concerned. We have not had a year for several years now, except the corporate tax rate cut in 2019 in September, where you have started the financial year with an income tax big bang cut, and you will come to Diwali with a massive GST cut, so direct taxes, indirect taxes being cut, and in between 100 basis points reduction in the cost of money, the interest rate by the Reserve Bank of India. And if you were to take that together in normal times, I would imagine there would have been a complete different response. 9 out of 10 should have said everything is changa. But clearly the tariffs are dampening the mood.
And let me clarify. Remember, this poll was done between July 1 to August 15, even before the tariffs kicked in. Now that the tariffs are a reality, it wasn't just pure arm twisting. The real concerns will only probably grow. So that's the first big number that should concern us at the moment. Shankar Iyer, your first reaction as someone who's tracked the economy for years. Is this something that should worry the Modi government? A clear negative sentiment when it comes to Trump's tariffs there?
Well, of course, they're worried, and there is only so much you can do. I mean, Trump loves optics. I mean, his economics borders on, as I said earlier also, his economics borders on Hafta economics. I mean, he's collecting tariff from his own companies who are selling chips to China, investing in Intel. Yesterday, there was a news that he is going to invest in defense company. All kinds of conflicts of interest are at play there. But India has to play its own game at its own terms. So I think what the government has done till now is to sort of beef up consumption in terms of cutting taxes. But there's much more to do. Every time we reach some intersection like this where the economy is sort of challenged, there's a lot of talk about, big bang reforms and stuff. The issue is that much of this requires to be done in the states. And the center has to let go of all the cholesterol, the regulatory hurdles that are there. I don't think that, that happens. Once the crisis sort of abates, everybody presses the snooze button. There is a very strong consensus for weak reforms in India's political class. So this is hurting India, and this is why our manufacturing is at 12%, which is why agriculture is still a license Raj. I think these are issues that India needs to wake up to. This whole result that you showed, that 63% are concerned, will rise as soon as the impact kicks in on the employment. Already we have a problem with IT sector. We also have a problem with the gem and jewelry sector coming up. What is tariff doing to us, Rajdeep? It makes our products more expensive in the markets that we sell. It makes investment less attractive in India because the competing countries like Vietnam, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, all of them have lower tariffs.
Okay, so in a sense, we are at a tipping point, some would say. We'll have to see how this plays out over the next couple of months. You never know what Donald Trump does next. But Professor Arun Kumar, I read a piece that you've already put out saying that this is very, very worrying, that you've got an economy that at some level was also showing signs of slowing down, not just because of regulatory cholesterol, and then comes this tariff hit that we will take, and it could hit labor-intensive industries. Are you surprised by these first numbers that 63% are worried? Is there a T factor fear being put in people's minds? Because the US is not India's only export market, surely.
So, Rajdeep, you are right. This poll was in July, August, early before the tariffs kicked in. And most people thought that actually tariffs may not be very high because of India's strategic relationship. The Indian government itself was putting out most of the time that India would get a special treatment because of the relationship between Modi and Trump, and also because of the strategic partnership that USA needs vis-a-vis China. All that has been belied because, as Vice President Vance has said it, Treasury Secretary has said it, Mr. Levaru has said it, that India expects a strategic partnership, but it doesn't behave like a strategic partner. And they are referring to India's relationship within BRICS with Russia and China. So they want India to follow the USA much more closely. And they find India an easy target because it's not that India has something very special that it can offer, unlike China. That's why the treatment between China and India is very asymmetric. China has been given additional 90 days, to come to an agreement on tariffs, whereas India has been imposed this extra 25% because of Russian oil. Now, the two things that the US wants from India, it's very difficult for India to fulfill. One is reducing the relationship with the Russians, because India gets a lot of supplies, defense supplies still from the Russians, whether it be BrahMos missiles, whether it be S-400, whether it be Sukhoi. And opening up of agriculture and dairy products, that is not possible because 45% of the workforce is still there. So in other words, what President Trump wants, we are unable to fulfill. And that's why he's imposing this tariffs on us so as to try and make us fall in line. But as Shankar Iyer has already said, and your data suggests, that this tariff is going to make our labor-intensive sectors like gems and jewelry, like Apple, etc., very non-competitive vis-a-vis our other competitors like Vietnam, Cambodia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, China. So our exports are going to suffer, especially in these areas which are labor-intensive areas. And as you know, the unemployment situation has already been rather fraught, with large amount of underemployment and large amount of disguised unemployment in the Indian economy, a lot of women suffering, and some of these sectors are women intensive also. So women's unemployment would rise further and youth unemployment would also rise. And the IT sector is not actually doing very good, because now H-1B visas and green cards are also coming under threat from the USA. So those Indians who could go abroad, I think fewer of them will be able to go abroad and they'll stay here. So in other words, the unemployment situation is going to aggravate further. And therefore, if you were to conduct a poll now, the situation would look worse than what was there earlier.
As I said, the poll is July 1 to August 15, and we will have numbers for unemployment. I think we've got a picture from our three economic specialists, but I want to look at, in the backdrop of all that has happened, you've just heard, even today, President Trump's special advisor, Mr. Navarro, suggesting that the war that Russia is waging against Ukraine is Modi's war, almost suggesting as if India has completely funded the Russian war machine. Now, this is taking the relationship to a new low, a lack of trust, clearly. I got Maria to take the next question. Maria, one of the key questions, how should India deal with the United States? Give us a sense, Maria, of what the India Today Mood of the Nation poll done by CVoter is saying on that critical question.
With 50% tariffs in effect and the tension between India and US with regards to trade deal continuing, the question that we asked now was, how should India deal with US? Remember, there have been series of statements which have come in from the Donald Trump administration. A very provocative one coming today from his close aide and advisor, Mr. Navarro, who said that it is Modi's war in the context of Russia-Ukraine war. When we asked that question, the response was no compromise, negotiate. Just as Prime Minister has been speaking about that he has put the interest of India first, that India will be doing this deal only on its own terms and conditions, the interest of the farmers and also the small and medium enterprises are primary. Then the response was also that can India handle high tariffs? 23% were of the opinion that they can, that India can handle, that Indian business are resilient. A very small number, just 9%, were of the opinion that India should accept the United States demands. So India is standing with the larger sentiment that there's no question of giving in to the bully that is coming in, the bullying which is happening from United States. Now to the next question. Remember this image which emerged from the White House? That famous lunch meet which happened between Donald Trump and Field Marshal Asim Munir. The question that we asked was India's response to US-Pakistan growing ties. How should India be responding to it? A whopping 59% were of the opinion that India should look at a counter strategy, in turn strengthen its ties with Russia. Also, a 29% were of the opinion that India should increase its military readiness. And just 6% feel that there should be some kind of dialogue with Pakistan, although India and Pakistan will be playing against each other in September in Asia Cup.
Fascinating, those numbers that are coming on. Remember, don't compromise, continue negotiations is 61%. India should accept US demands is only 9%. We'll come to the Pakistan question later, but first, how should India deal with the United States? I'm also joined. Yes, there goes Gaurav Sawant. Go ahead, Gaurav.
Just the way India is dealing with the United States of America, don't buckle under a bully. India used to say that about China, stare the dragon down. Exactly the same way, stare Trump down. It will take trouble. Yes, there will be additional tariffs. There may be additional tariffs. There will be an impact on H-1B visas. But then it depends. You buckle under pressure. Now, there'll be pressure that will come throughout Trump tenure. It's not as if you kowtow now and, he'll relent. Tomorrow he'll demand something else. Day after he'll demand something else. And then he will want to dictate your foreign policy. Do you want America to dictate our foreign policy, whether we want to be friends with Russia or not, or with China or not, with UK or not? Clearly not. So we will have to go through.
So what you look the bully in the eye.
You look the bully in the eye.
With rhetoric or with actual acts. I've just got a report which says the USDA has welcomed the government's decision to remove import duty on cotton. It happened very quietly on the 15th of August. So, in the backdrop of all this strident rhetoric, Swadeshi 2.0, we're going to take on the United States, there's also a parallel track which seems to be going on. Let's negotiate for a good defense deal with the United States. Let's find areas of commonality. You're saying look the bully in the eye.
Rajdeep, it's a
That's good for domestic consumption.
No.
Does that work?
No, so it's a three-pronged strategy. When Prime Minister Narendra Modi went to America in February, immediately after Trump's swearing in, the compact that was agreed to had three prongs. One was high-tech cooperation, the other was defense cooperation, and the third was a trade agreement. Now, when it comes to your defense cooperation, you just talking about inking a $1 billion 404G, 404 jet engine deal. You're having a high-tech technology cooperation in terms of that NISAR satellite. Your military exercises are continuing. Places like your agriculture and dairy sector, where the Prime Minister says there's no way I'm going to compromise with the interests of my farmers. At the same time, things like blueberries and mulberries, those are areas that they're talking about moving forward, if possible. So there has to be a give and take, but you will not have America dictate terms to India.
Anyone else wants to step in? Pranav, you've been tracking this for a very long time. Are we seeing India now looking at America the bully in the eye, or is it two bullies who only till the other day were great friends?
Two bullies. How are we two bullies? How are we two bullies?
No, all I am saying is that these are two countries which feel very strongly about their national interest, want to protect it at all costs. America believes what's in their interest, we believe what's in our interest. Can the twain meet or not? At the moment, they're not. Donald Trump has completely upended this relationship.
No, but this happens among best of the friends as well. You have to draw certain boundaries, even the best of the friends. There are certain things which you do not share, and you can have your perceptional differences.
But isn't it double standards? You put 50% tariffs on India.
Absolutely.
You don't put it on China. You give China a 90-day reprieve. What kind of a friend is this?
No doubt about it. And that's why we have this difference. We have this difference, and this is well recognized. Look,
have we been caught unawares? Let's be honest. We were talking of trade negotiations. The trade team was to be in India last week.
I won't call it that we were caught unaware. We could see it coming, but we dealt with this trade negotiation as we dealt with the other trade negotiations. Look, India-UK FTA took around 3 years for the completion. We know and we understand the trade negotiations are very complex processes. They require times. We had that early movers advantage. Definitely. We were the first one to start that negotiation. Even before traveling to United States, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his government gave, good kind of relaxation in the budget. February 2025 budget, we have given that relaxation, and we thought that it might get...
It's a good signal.
Go ahead. Yes, Maria, then Preeti.
Look, Rajdeep, I think what India thought was that Donald Trump 1.0 is similar to Donald Trump second administration. First Trump administration, they had almost won. They knew that Mr. Trump is transactional. This is the way to go forward. Then he came up with surprise one after the other. What New Delhi did not really sense was that how to deal with a man in White House who's taking to Truth Social to declare foreign policy, to make outlandish, outrageous statements, very, very provocative, going to the extent of saying that the Indian economy is dead. How do you deal with such a man who's declaring everything on Truth Social?
If I may, at one point, see, we are discussing today in context of Peter Navarro's statement. Let me read the social media post of Peter Navarro of of 24th of June 2023. And what he says that while India should be natural ally of United States, communist China has invaded it twice to pose as existential threat from ships in the Indian Ocean and large bombers and fighter jets bases in Tibet. India and Modi cannot really be trusted to have our back. This is what Peter Navarro said way back in June 2023, much before he became the advisor of President Donald Trump. So look, if you see and scan his entire social media timeline, you can find that this guy has,
I am only going by our poll numbers. How should India deal with the US? Preeti, 61% saying don't compromise, continue negotiations. Only 23% are saying India capable of handling high tariffs. And only 9% saying India should accept US demands.
Rajdeep, I just want to reflect for a moment on the first question. Are you worried about Trump's high tariffs?
Yes.
63% is a massive number.
And this is
for
even
people,
before the tariffs
that
kick in.
kind of anxiety, and this is before the tariffs kicked in. It's a huge number. Now, you know, how India deals with America on an international stage is one thing. But how our government deals with it on a domestic front is another thing. And it's a double-edged sword. At one end, it opens up all new political theater for the Prime Minister in which he always flourishes, which is a direct, contest with, Trump. Domestic politics will feed off that where the BJP is concerned. But there is a double-edged sword because along with this domestic politics, which the BJP and the government will use, you also have to have domestic economic policies to absorb the impact because unemployment is a huge situation and it will filter down. So the pinch will be felt.
Okay, let's look at those opportunities because Siddharth, one of the interesting questions that we posed, the Mood of the Nation poll done by CVoter asked, who is responsible for the breakdown of trade deal negotiations? 54% are blaming the United States and Donald Trump. So very clearly, most Indians believe Donald Trump is responsible for it. India, 22%, both 16%, neither 1%. So it could be possible for India to play victim now. Prime Minister Modi has done it in the past and he can invoke nationalistic spirit. Look at it, that here is Donald Trump giving special benefits to China that he denies to India and thereby play the nationalist card all over again.
India's communication on this issue is better than Operation Sindoor. That is what the government has managed to convince people. That's the reason.
You believe that our communication is better, but communication, at the end of the day, if I start losing livelihoods, I'm not worried about communication. Siddharth.
Rajdeep, one of the key things is, and I'm going to say this straightforward, the 22% who believe that India is responsible are ill-informed or misinformed. Why is India not responsible? Because right for 7 months, you have negotiated in earnest, clause by clause, item by item. Look what happened.
So what changed?
Rajdeep, just last 24 hours.
Yes.
In the last 24 hours, the government of India, senior officials, many of us who have spoken there and were part of those informal briefings, said that all communication lines are open. You referred to the defense deal and other things. We have continued. What happens? 6 hours later, 3 members of the administration come out and launch fresh salvos. So clearly, Rajdeep, India has tried to ring fence its conversation and restrict it to trade. We have not brought in ideological matters. Peter Navarro is an ideologue or a hawk on tariffs, not now, for over 5 decades.
So is Donald Trump. So is Donald Trump.
No,
Donald Trump's been talking about Japan in the 1980s. My limited point to you, did we misread Donald Trump? Did Donald Trump misread us?
Well, how do you respond if you go in, do something, shake hands and come out and 3 hours later you are hit by a tweet. You are hit by a statement that India is a dead economy. You are hit by a statement that it is Modi's war in Ukraine. You've got to be deluded. And I don't want to use any other stronger words to say that we are responsible. Rajdeep, just one fact, one quick fact. $350 billion of Russian money seized by the US.
Yes.
Do you know how many sanctions have been imposed? 31,000 sanctions. 1,200 companies have quit the Russian economy. The biggest buyer of Russian products, commodities, oil is China. And we are not even talking about the illegal shipping trade. Yet, you come out and say, hey, bhaiya, ye India ne kiya. You got to be raving mad and not perhaps on substances.
I keep asking what has changed? What has changed? What has changed in the
No, it is ideological. It is because we do.
Ideological.
We are not bowing down and taking a knee before an emperor who is now the biggest representative of imperial power.
So Donald
That's
Trump,
exactly the
Donald
conversation
We refuse
which will
to
play
take a
out.
knee.
It will be
No, but that's the
Narendra
truth.
Modi, the
Yeah,
Prime
so
Minister,
that's
taking
Why
on an
should we give
imperial
him credit
power.
That's the truth.
for
That's
the
the
ceasefire?
projection.
It's
Why
not the
should we
projection,
give
it's
him?
the truth. And
Give a Nobel
Are
Peace
they
Prize
political
to Indian
projection?
negotiators. Give them a Padma Vibhushan, a Padma Shri. They took on the US for 7 months. No. What did the US Treasury Secretary say?
One minute, Gaurav, just a minute. Just a minute.
Rajesh, one line. No, after this I will
Siddharth
speak.
is on a roll.
Just one line.
Yes, sir.
Just 12 hours ago,
Yes.
16 hours ago, the US finance minister on a television channel
The Treasury
says
Secretary.
India has tapped us along for 7 months. He's basically saying, give a Nobel Peace Prize to the negotiating smarts of the Indian negotiating team. We took that bully head on trade, yet we are ring-fencing the discussion saying we are open to business on other side.
Okay, Monday we are going to have a debate, Siddharth Zarabi versus Peter Navarro. Hopefully.
How has he seen it all? Moto G96 5G.
All eyes on you.
Hello, Moto. मंगलदीप दिल से करो बात भगवान के साथ। मंगलदीप धूप कोन्स 2 गुनी खुशबू के साथ दे पूजा का बेहतर अनुभव।
जब मुंबई से वापस कोल्हापुर शिफ्ट हुआ तो सबने कहा कि ड्रीम सिटी को छोड़ रहा है। ड्रीम सिटी, मैंने कहा ड्रीम में तो यही गलियां आती। तो जब ये रियलाइज हुआ कि कुछ बड़ा करने के लिए बड़े शहर में रहने की जरूरत नहीं, तब लगा कि लाइफ में ग्रो किया।
SIP करो, इन्वेस्ट करो, लाइफ में ग्रो करो। प्रतिभूति बाजार में निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है। निवेश करने से पहले सभी संबंधित दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें।
But Yashwant Deshmukh joins us off CVoter, who's done the poll. Yashwant, we've just given the initial numbers. It seems to be suggesting there is concern over high tariffs. We can sit in a television studio and wave the national flag. People are possibly going to lose livelihoods. There are exporters who are worried. There are people who are worried that this could lead to a slowdown of the Indian economy. Various numbers are doing the round. Does your poll suggest that, as well as the fact that Indians will stand by India at a moment of crisis, that both these sentiments are playing parallelly?
So public is very clear. They know that the economic distress is there. The stress is there. They know what kind of tariffs are going to hit them. It's not that they do not know, they understand. Yet, they want you to stand up to the bully. So see, Donald Trump is a weird phenomena. It hit India twice. Particularly to the ruling dispensation, you know, with the one tweet about ceasefire, it took the entire pro-narrative go down as far as the narrative around ceasefire is concerned.
The facts
you
on
know,
ceasefire.
so yeah, so Sindoor, which was supposed to help in a narrative way to the BJP and the NDA, it did not. You know, that's a fact. But what was not supposed to help the BJP and the NDA was the tariff, but it is helping because standing up to the bully is what people are appreciating. Okay, so that's the one point. One more thing, one data point, which is beyond the MOTN in our PSC, where we did the tracking
PSC
during the political stock exchange during the Operation Sindoor. Preeti, you remember when we asked whom should we trust more?
When the financial pinch comes at the back of these tariffs, one of the main core contention has been with every time you do the surveys, unemployment. It's always on top of the people's
And
mind.
that is exactly
that
what America
will
is trying.
pinch.
And, you know,
so you have to come up with economic policies to absorb
You made that point, Preeti. Go ahead,
If they try to up the ante, and America may just do that with the H-1B visas. So every adversity is an opportunity, and that's exactly what India has capitalized on even in the past. That's the point, that America has not war game when they went ahead with this. Look, America America made Japan kowtow to it. America made South Korea. Those are treaty allies of the United States of America. European Union had to buckle under
Japan is
pressure.
walking out
And now
of it.
Japan is walking back.
Out because they don't know what these guys want.
Because they've seen India stand tall. They're seeing India stand tall to American bullying. And so this is where India plays a much bigger role on the world
Let's
stage.
get one or two more voices in. One of our questions also was, and this is linked again to a sense of national sentiment over this, is India buying Russian oil in its national interest? Now, many believe that this has led to profiteering, of course, of a few corporates close to the government. But what do people say? Yes, say 69%. India should continue to buy Russian oil. It's in its national interest. No, say 16%. Given these numbers, Shankar Iyer, there's a wave of nationalism that says that we've got to stand up to the bully, and America is seen as the big bully. There are others, and the first question becomes relevant in that, who are also worried about or anxious about Trump's high tariffs. How do you see this play out? Sovereignty on one side versus policy making on the other?
Well, nobody has ever accused the Americans of knowing history or geography very well. So let's sort of move away from their contention. Donald Trump was looking for a geopolitical deal. Where India messed up is that they were focused on a trade deal. So the Ukraine war is the albatross that is hanging around the Western world. Now, the reason why Korea or others kowtowed did what they want, because their defense budget is funded by the American money. EU agreed to whatever was to be agreed because of that. But they've also done a bit of sleight of hand. Japan is supposed to invest $600 billion, no details available. EU is supposed to invest $500 billion, no details available. So the bottom line is there is no MRP or maximum retail price when you're negotiating with a bully or a transactional person. There is no doubt that Americans understand India's compulsions, but they're just trying to see whether they can break the bill. The point here is, what are your options? So the Prime Minister is now going to Japan. He's meeting people in China, which is another relationship which is fraught with some issues. So India's only answer in the long run would be to fix the issues of its domestic economy, about employment, about skilling, about funding. I mean, India wants to export to the world. How many banks in India are willing to go and fund exports abroad? What is the kind of depth that you have? Now, India will have to create policies to help those affected by the tariffs. Do you have the depth in the fiscal to do that? So you'll have to raise
the point I'm making, that this is not just about rhetoric. This has to also become now about policy making. There's an important GST meeting, for example, in a few days from now. The government is going to have to get its act together. This is a wake-up call. Arun Kumar, when I look at those numbers on Russian oil, I've heard a lot of people saying, maybe we should do a cost-benefit analysis. I had Raghuram Rajan on the show. He says it's time to do a proper cost-benefit. How much has Indian consumer really gained? How much have private companies gained? How much have we as a country gained by buying cheap Russian oil? Do you believe these are all valid questions to raise at the moment? Because there will be those who will say, we are not buckling like Gaurav Sawant under any kind of pressure from the Americans. We are going to continue, even though silently, quietly, we have reduced our dependence on Russian oil just in the last couple of months. We don't want to make a noise about it. That's the only difference.
So, Rajdeep, you're right. We have to look at the big picture and then come to the specifics. The big picture is that we didn't start the tariff war. Before Trump came, our average tariffs was 17%, US tariffs were 3%, So what Trump is doing is imposing actually protectionist tariffs. These are not reciprocal tariffs. At best, the reciprocal tariff should have been 14% because that was the difference between them and us. But what he's doing is he's trying to bring jobs back to the US. Now, that's not going to happen because US wages are very high compared to what India and China has to offer. So, what an Indian worker earns in 2 months is earned by an American auto worker in one day. So therefore, it's not going to happen that, all the production is going to go back to the US, etc. So I think very quickly, what you'll see is stagflationary conditions rise in the USA. And that will actually create problem within the US for the US economy and for Trump. The trifactor that is helping Trump in terms of the judiciary, the legislature, and the presidency, that is under threat in the coming elections next year. Now, if the trifecta goes, US may not be able to continue with the imposition of the tariffs that are there at the moment, because it's the power of the Congress
But that's a
to
year
levy
from now.
tariff. It's
Professor
not the
Arun Kumar, Professor Arun Kumar, that's a year from now. The elections are November next year. The fact is, at the moment,
No,
you support the general national mood seems to be stand up to the bully. Do you believe that's the right stand?
Yeah, so we've been, as you rightly say, we've been quietly actually buckling under. For instance, during the budget also, we reduced tariffs, we've increased the import of energy, we are increasing defense expense, etc. But that's not going to satisfy Trump. Therefore, what do? We need to actually, as Preeti and others have said, we need to actually look at the internal economy and boost the internal economy, especially the unemployment situation, because that is where I think the mood of the nation would switch. Because if this continues with a lot of unemployment increasing, and especially also with H1 visa and the green card, etc., all that creating a climate of a despondency among the youth, then I think the situation will change. So I think very quickly the government needs to increase the demand within the economy. That will not benefit the exporters because the GST is not what is going to help them, but the general demand might increase and investment might increase.
I have been hearing that for the last couple of years with due regard, Professor Arun Kumar, and no one disagrees. We need to stimulate demand. I'm just seeing a poll, your cover of Business Today. Business confidence is at an all-time low for 11 quarters. Domestic demand is tepid. Many Indian big business are not investing in the big projects. All of this was talked about in the last budget, but it's not translating on the ground. Is this a wake-up call in that sense?
And the BT C4 survey that you refer to was conducted with around 500 plus CEOs in the time frame of July 10 to 25. I just want to make one point. This survey, particularly the latter part of it, comes after the 2 rounds of US tariffs. The first US tariff kicked in on 30th July, the second one kicked in a week later. Now, given that, what is very clear, Rajdeep, at the top end, there is nervousness of grim tidings.
Right.
And at the mass level, which this survey captures, there is nervousness. One quick point, Rajdeep, and why we are missing the point. Let's not forget that India buckled in once, and that memory perhaps is guiding our stance now. In May 2019, we stopped buying Venezuelan and Iranian oil. One more quick point.
That time there were sanctions.
Gaurav,
This time there are no sanctions.
Let me complete that point. We did that. And why there is no trust of the US stance is evidenced by that. The second thing, it's 3 years plus and counting. Petrol, diesel prices have remained frozen. They have not increased. There have, in fact, been some adjustments.
They have not decreased either.
No,
not substantially.
there has been an adjustment.
Not substantially.
No, just one final point.
The benefit has not passed on to the consumer. Had the benefit been passed on to the consumer, the same consumer would have perhaps shared more.
Let me just finish the point. In regard to the survey and the question on Russian oil, all I'm saying is, I guarantee that all these respondents, 200,000 plus respondents, no one knows the color of the oil when it is filled in his motorcycle, or whether it is Russian oil, whether it is some other Gulf oil. They don't care about it. What they are caring about is, are you standing up to the bully who has mistreated you in the past? In the past, you agreed with his stance.
Just a moment, because there are 2 more important points. They're linked to this. The survey has also asked opinion on India-China engaging more closely. Remember, Prime Minister goes to the SCO to China in a few days from now.
Today.
Strengthens India's position globally, 52%. India-China engage more closely, strengthen. Look at how the world is changing. The same China that was seen to be fused with the Pakistan military during Operation Sindoor weakens India's security interests, 26%, no significant impact, 13%. Maria has already given the numbers. If US increases support to Pakistan, how should India respond? Strengthens ties with other allies like Russia, 59%. Increased military readiness, 29%. Seek dialogue with Pakistan, 6%. But Gaurav Samant, till the other day you were calling China the big enemy, that we have to take on the Chinese. Now we are about to go and embrace the Chinese. I hope we are not going on a jhula again, but the fact is we are going to China and we are embracing them, and the public is saying, yes, this will strengthen our position globally. So now you see America as the big bully, and our enemy in the neighborhood we want to embrace.
My enemy is always a friend.
But enemy's enemy, China is having its own relationship being built with the Trump administration on the other hand.
That's exactly, Rajdeep, where you see the global Chakravyuh, things are changing so fast across the world.
Gaurav,
There
Savan is changing fast.
No,
No longer you see
I
China
only
as the
look
main
at,
enemy.
my show is India first, and I always look at Indian interests first.
So India first is now tying up, moving closer to China in your view?
In case China...
Moving closer to Putin in your view?
Putin always, Russia always.
Okay.
Russia has always been, look, a friend in need is a friend indeed.
Okay.
Right? Russians have been close to India throughout. Since our independence, since Indira Gandhi's 1971 operations, since Kargil War of 1999. So India-Russia relationship has withstood the test of time.
China?
China, Wang Yi came to India. Wang Yi, the Chinese foreign minister and member of Politburo, he made it very clear, Rajdeep, that they have realized that animosity with India was not in the interest of the two people.
4 months ago, the Chinese were fully fueled.
That's a reality. That's a reality you have to live with. So, if I may, permit me to finish my point.
Yes.
The point is, world equation is changing. It's a changing geopolitical equation. You have to see Bharat ka fayda. Where do you get the maximum interest?
Real politics.
Real politics. No,
your survey also shows that.
Survey shows that public is very
Public
clear.
has no problem with if you deal with China
I tell you,
anymore.
public is very clear. Number one, institutional memory of public about Russia-India friendship is very high, very well. And I was taken to a surprise because 80% of Indian electorate right now was born after the 71 war.
Yes. And after the
so
treaty,
I was
Soviet
thinking
treaty.
this would not be in the public memory, but it was, number one. Number two,
China?
during the Sindoor in the PSC, Priti, you remember, we even asked about China and the Pakistan. During the conflict, majority of the Indians said, Pakistan hai nahi ladai mein, it is actually the China whom we are fighting.
Correct.
It is a single front. So as far as public is concerned, public is like, you know, earlier
No, but now 52% are saying we should engage with China.
Let me finish.
52% are saying engage with China. The same country was saying which was striking us during Sindoor.
Let me finish. Earlier, these kind of discussions were limited to studios and the experts of the diplomacy and the and other fields. Now, the common man on the street is very clear. China remains an adversary. Okay? Russia remains a friend. America remains something which we have to be extremely careful about. We are not comfortable. As long as, just like Gaurav said, as long as on the India first policy, if it happens to be that we shake hand with China in order to stand up to bully right now, people are okay with that. That doesn't mean people are saying trust China.
Okay.
Hell no.
Rajdeep,
Do not trust
Yes,
China.
Preeti and then Maria, go ahead.
Yeah.
You know, I actually,
And then Pranav.
you know, Rajdeep, the fact is with all the categories that Yashwant just named, the line gets blurred somewhere, and I'll tell you when it gets blurred. Because you had Siddharth who says, somebody who's getting fuel filled in their motorcycle doesn't quite care whether it's coming from Russia or any other country, but they are, you know, pleased with the fact that we are looking a bully in the eye. We often forget of the last man standing in the queue. And that person reminded us in the last 2024 election who she or he is. And I'll give you an example there. Because have this conversation 3 months from now, if there is a trickle-down effect to a person who's on a dhyadi basis in a textile unit in Banaras or in Karnal. When they are laid off, they don't care whether we are looking at somebody in the eye. They are bothered that their dhyadi for the day is not coming. So therefore, we need economic policy. One second. Let me finish my point.
The 80 crore people that India feeds, the 80 crore people that India has fed out of your tax and my tax and her tax, that money is our civilizational ethos. The last man in the line should be fed.
I will counter that.
And
Allow
then
me to
Preeti,
counter that.
instead of buying Make in America or Made in Europe, when she buys more Made in India, when you and I buy more Made in India, it helps the last man.
Let Preeti respond.
You know, let me just give you an example, right? I will hark back to 2024 elections in UP, especially in Eastern UP. What was one of the main, which was, you know, which only I would think the ground reporters tapped on. Galla mil raha hai. Galla is free ration. Galla mil raha hai, naukri nahi hai. The minute that naukri goes, you can, you know, what are you going to do with Swadeshi? Yeah, she can't or he can't afford like 2 square meals a day.
That's where every Indian needs to come forward.
We need policies. We need to look the bully in the eye, but look the bully in the eye. Come up with strong economic policies.
We can't keep breastfeeding and say, hi, aap pit gaye. We have to fight the bully in every which way.
Let's not shout at each other. Let's talk to each other. The fact at the end of the day is if I'm losing my job in a toy factory or a small garments factory,
Our
or a
toy factory
I'm not
incidentally are doing
interested
very
in looking
well.
the bully in the eye as much as how will I get my job at the earliest. In that sense, Pranav, in that sense, you track diplomacy. Are diplomats and those in government aware, diplomats in particular, aware that, looking at the US, the bully in the eye may look very good, may grab you headlines, Swadeshi 2.0, it's going to have to translate into reality on the ground in ensuring that jobs are protected.
Absolutely.
Are they aware of that?
They are aware about this.
That you can't allow the rhetoric to spiral out of control.
No, look, it's not about rhetoric. It's not about rhetoric.
In 24 hours we are talking Swadeshi 2.0. I'm hearing an Aam Aadmi Party MLA say, MP, I'm going to boycott all US products.
But that is one. Forget about the rhetoric. But this country was much poorer when we stood up against the mightiest British Empire. Much poorer than this situation. Having said that, this remains a concern. Take the example, we also have to take it into account that the states which are going to get impacted by these tariff sanctions, Andhra Pradesh, take the example of Andhra Pradesh, which is governed by Chandrababu Naidu.
A lot of shrimp export.
Shrimp doesn't have the shelf life like of textile or jewelry. It is very perishable commodity. Around 32% of our export, shrimp export, goes to United States. It is going to get impacted. This is worth about $2 billion. This will impact us. That's why Prime Minister said that I am going to stand for my small farmers, my fishermen. This has to be protected.
How? The question is how. You see, I come back to it. Just a minute, sir.
No, we have to see
the reason I'll tell you why.
Is it being targeted against those states which can be politically sensitive?
Okay, Pranav, the question is asked, and that's why this becomes important. Maria, please dive in. India's handling of the economy. The MOTN poll has asked that. In August 2025, 47.8% are saying it's good. Average is 16.4%. Poor is 30.2%. So if I look at average and poor, roughly it's around the same. Half say it's good, half say it's average and poor. It's a split verdict. Unemployment situation, that's where the real problem comes. MOTN August 2025 says very serious is 50.7. Somewhat serious is 20.8. Add the two, it's coming to a whopping 72%. Not concerned is only 10.6. Not very serious is 6.7. Not at all serious is 5.4. So therefore, when you look at the one big negative that the government is facing at the moment, it's unemployment. On the back of it, when tariffs come in, you're going to have to find solutions in a reasonable time frame. Is there a concern, therefore, when you look at these numbers, that this is going to be the big challenge for the government? Yes, people are with the national flag. Yes, they want us to stand up to the bully. Yes, they are willing to even have better relations with China, but not at the cost of losing my naukri.
Absolutely. Rajdeep, look, this has to be juxtaposed with what most people are saying, that 61%, a very high percentage, saying that there should be no compromise whatsoever, continue to negotiate. And that is where I think the Prime Minister's words come in, where he said, even at the personal cost, I will ensure that I will protect the interests of the agriculture, the farmers, and also the MSMEs. I think that's where the government's communication, and I will go back to the point that I made, is more effective on this, where there is almost near unanimity that Prime Minister Modi's political will has been displayed. He stands firm for India and the Indian interest.
Therefore, Shankar Iyer, very quickly, how do you translate the narrative of standing up to the bully to ensuring that the unemployment situation doesn't slip out of control? It's where you've always spoken about regulatory cholesterol. Does it now go beyond that? Now there's a wake-up call that we need answers now. It can't be pushed into the future. Ease of doing business committee bana denge, wo ab nahi chalega.
Well, just on a lighter note, this poll will send the WhatsApp world universe into a tizzy, because last year they were doing Havan for Donald Trump and boycotting Chinese goods. This year they will have to do Havan for Chinese goods and boycott Donald Trump. So the whole world will go around this way. But, the point is that if you take the last three budgets and the announcements that were made, they promised 20,000 crores for R&D in the private sector. Money is yet to be disbursed because they don't know how to disburse the money. An urban challenge fund of 1 lakh crore has been set up, which is still not finalized. The Niti Aayog was supposed to release, what is the whole tariff, domestic economy, regulatory cholesterol about? You should spur competition among states. Why is Tamil Nadu getting all the investment, doing better? Because they're doing something right. So other states need to do that. investment conferences are held all over the country, magnetic Maharashtra, kinetic Karnataka, all that stuff. Nobody knows how much investment has come or whether it's translated. Let's do an audit. The Niti Aayog has the bandwidth to do this audit, but obviously there is a political cost to doing this audit, so they have not done. So why not take a proactive thing? Why not have a chief minister's conference where they come up and say, I am going to slash these regulations. This is the time. I am going to allow these kind of investments. This is the time-bound program. I have adopted these policies. Let's not wait for another committee, another task force, another...
Point taken. We have a big GST Council meeting coming up on September 3. We'll see what happens there. But Arun Kumar, very quickly, do you believe that this unemployment situation, therefore, juxtaposed against this surge of nationalism led by Gaurav Sawant here, he didn't do a havan, I'm told, when he necessarily didn't do a havan for Donald Trump, but this surge of nationalism, that we are not going to bow down to American pressure, but at the same time, the pressure will have real effects. Quick response. Time to get our act together.
So politics can always trump economics. There is no doubt about that. In India, we've seen that again and again after demonetization, etc. But as Siddharth was saying, the problem is demand. If industry doesn't have enough demand, investment would suffer. And because the sentiment has gone down in industry, at the moment, investment would suffer further. Now, how do you get investment up? For that, you need to generate demand in the unorganized sector, which is 94% of the employment. So you need to have higher incomes in agriculture. You need to have higher incomes in the micro sector, which employs 11.5 crore people. If you can generate demand with this 11.5 crore micro sector and another 11 crore farmers, then you have a big demand coming up. Unfortunately, GST rate cut will not do that because bulk of the GST is paid by the organized sector. As Arun Jaitley used to say, 5% units pay 95% of the tax. So if you cut the GST rates, it'll benefit the organized sector, but not necessarily the unorganized sector. Similarly, the income tax rate cut, which is expected to boost demand, actually the benefit will go about 3 crore individuals out of 145 crore. That is inadequate to generate demand at the lower levels. So what you need to do is push demand at the lower levels. Then you'll have, the organized sector also investing more because the organized sector balance sheets are very good. They have large amount of money, but because of lack of demand, they're not investing enough. So therefore, it's a win-win situation if you go for the unorganized sector, the small, medium, and the agriculture sector. If you go for them, I think you'll have a recovery.
Very quickly,
Rajdeep, this is not as serious as an economic problem as we saw during the worst period of COVID. You saw the government respond to that with a multitude of programs. We've been reporting over the last several days that there is work underway in the government, different departments talking about a response that includes support for the export sector, and there more will roll out. And I just want to say, if we go by the last 6 months, it was not as if the government of India has been caught napping. Because of all the steps that have been taken, yes, a lot more work needs to be done on some of the budget announcements. But I would end by saying, Rajdeep, it is time that the states also step up. If a West Bengal says that no, this GST cut will be revenue negative, then that is not part of a national strategy. This is the stage where everyone cutting across party lines and state and center have to come together.
One final minute that you have, Yashwant Deshmukh, and this is your poll. Overall, at the end of this first round of the Mood of the Nation, can we say the Narendra Modi-led BJP NDA remains politically dominant, electorally dominant, but the economic clouds looming make this are a wake-up call? Complacency, particularly ahead of our next Mood of the Nation, is no longer an answer. Now you're going to need solutions. Time is running out.
I think complacency is no way, in any case, it can be a solution. I mean, it's not like that.
Because I'm winning elections, I feel I'm complacent.
And
I'll get away by winning an election.
And I also kind of feel for something different, like my home state is UP. We have Bihar on the board. And for long, in the North Belt, as the cow belt as we call it, we asked this question, by the way, in 2 rounds earlier. People still prefer the Sarkari Naukri. There is lack of sense of entrepreneurship in this entire northern belt. Naukri hai nahi, kahan se aayegi? There are no jobs. job is a serious concern for 70%, as you said, people are saying
So
it is a
that's the
concern.
Achilles heel.
So I think the government will have to some way unleash this, economic reforms or whatever in order to promote the sense of entrepreneurship, not in the West India, not in the South India, but in the North and the East of India.
Okay.
Without that,
I know.
it is not going anywhere.
Unfortunately,
If I may,
10 seconds.
America.
You want to confess that you went for the Havan of Donald?
No, I want to tell you that the moment India stands up, you will see America start backing down. You will see that, whether you see that immediately or after some time, because America also wants a good relations with India.
Okay, sure.
It's in their national interest. Ultimately, they too want to take on China. So, Trump may be penny wise. At least, hopefully, he won't be pound foolish.
Okay, let's leave it there.
Dollar
We've had a
foolish.
very, very interesting mood of the nation. And the good news is, whichever way you look at it, we've got another mood of the nation coming up tomorrow where we look at other hot button issues. Handling of Operation Sindoor, the allegations of vote chori, democratic reforms, and so much more. I want to thank all my guests for joining us, and for you, the viewers, do of course look at the latest India Today magazine where you'll get a more detailed look at the mood of the nation. Thanks for watching. Stay well, stay safe. Namaskar. Jai Hind. We'll have special guests joining us, and we will dissect every aspect of this C-Voter Mood of the Nation poll. Joining us is Raj Chengappa, editorial director of India Today. He's the one who's bringing out the magazine that will be out there, and you'll see the cover in a moment. Also joining us, Yashwant Deshmukh of C-Voter. He's the messenger, so if you want to shoot anyone and things have gone wrong, Yashwant is always ready. He's putting his numbers on the line. Maria Shakil, my colleague and senior editor, joins me. Welcome, Maria, to the Mood of the Nation for the first time. Gaurav Sawant, senior editor, and again, someone who tracks all the developments, especially in the last few months with Operation Sindoor, is with us. Preeti Chaudhary, also with us. Welcome. Also joining us, Amitabh Tiwari, someone who's been polling and giving weekly updates on his website. And we are joined by Tuhin Sinha, BJP's national spokesperson, and Sanjay Jha, who is someone who's been associated with the Congress party. So lots of voices, and we'll come to all the big numbers on the Mood of the Nation in a moment. But first, to give you a sense of the methodology of this Mood of the Nation survey by India Today. The survey date, July 1st to August 14th, 2025. So effectively, it's been a pretty comprehensive period. Respondents, 54,788. All Lok Sabha segments across all states have been covered. 1,52,000 additional interviews from C-Voters regular tracker data analyzed. 2,06,826 respondents, therefore, have been considered in all for this MOTN poll. So without further ado, let's cut the chase and bring you all the big numbers today. First, of course, that big number. What would happen if Lok Sabha elections were held here in August of 2025? The projected vote share first. If Lok Sabha polls were held today, NDA, as it stands today, 47% is what the MOTN poll predicts. India Alliance, 41%, others 12%. Significantly, no change at all from February 2025 when we did our last tracker. It's almost as if the numbers are frozen in time despite the turbulence around us. In alliance terms, the projected seat share now, remember 543 Lok Sabha seats, NDA at 324. 324, still a firm majority, but down 19 compared to February of 2025. India Alliance 208, well behind, but up 20 compared to February 2025 when we did our last Mood of the Nation. But the NDA is up compared to Lok Sabha when the actual elections were held last year, and the India Alliance is slightly down. Others 11, that's down 1. Take a look at the party-wise projected vote share if Lok Sabha polls are held today. BJP 41%, That's no change in the BJP's support. It is a shade higher compared to Lok Sabha last year, but the same as our MOTN in February. Congress 21%, up 1% compared to February 2025. Others 38%, down 1%. How does all this translate into party-wise? And these are important numbers too. BJP on its own 260, that's short of the halfway mark, much like Lok Sabha last year, down 21 compared to February of 2025. Congress 97, that's up 19 compared to February 2025, but still not crossing the 100 mark. So the significant gap remains between party number 1 and 2. Others 186, that's +2. So the big number, if elections are held today, the NDA would still get a comfortable majority. When I look at those numbers, Raj Chengappa, it almost seems as if very little has changed. I mean, your cover story could virtually be the same as it was 6-7 months ago.
Hardly, Rajdeep. Let's not forget, as you mentioned earlier, it's been one of the most tumultuous 3-4 months that's been there. You've had Donald Trump come as president for the second time, and he's wrecker-in-chief. He's destroyed the global order as we know it. And of course, unfortunately, India's been at the receiving end. When we thought we were good friends with Trump, we have a tariff war that is ongoing with him. We've had a major war with India, with Pakistan, the 6th India-Pakistan war under Mr. Modi's watch. And what the results are showing here is that despite all this tumult, the belief is that the BJP, the NDA,